This guy got cast out of the kingdom. He was a dragon tamer who not only tamed dragons but also different creatures and spirits. Not only that, he also has healing ability, has a sealing art that could bind the strongest living in an instant and nullify all kinds of magic. He could also create a potion, and more. Before I spoil the fun, let's start the story. A white dragon landed on the ground, carrying our boy on her back. They were surrounded by other dragons and a beautiful scenery. When our MC got off her back, she transformed into a human, announcing their arrival at the Dragon Nation, where she welcomed our MC, Raid. This is the beginning of the story of one dragon tamer, a tale of good deeds bringing good rewards. The Dragon Knight Corps protects the nation's defense, the divine dragon empire, Lazaria. And in that country, Raid works as a caretaker for the sky dragons. In this world, there are those who possess special abilities called skills. In his family line, they have inherited the skill Dragon Tamer for generations. The Dragon Tamer skill allows the dragon's roars to reach them as clear voices in their hearts. Using this skill, he served the Empire and worked as a dragon caretaker. Raid inspected a dragon named Faye and noticed that he's been overexerting himself in recent deployments. Faye explained that it's because they get exploited by the Dragon Knights, who have been overusing their breath. Raid couldn't stand this anymore. The Dragon Knights are being reckless. This is the third time already. He's taking this up with the higher-ups. Raid was about to walk out when Faye called out to him, assuring him that it's fine. He'll only put himself in a worse position by protecting them like this. He even ended up being called a salary thief. Well, he's not wrong. Raid once said that the dragon still needed more time to recover, but was instead blamed for it and called a salary thief. It's just the same as always. So Raid asked Faye not to let it bother him. Then he poured a special potion in Faye's bucket to make him feel better. However, the sky dragons that were lovingly passed down to Raid from his late parents and family will be overworked by the Dragon Knights at this rate. Faye noticed what Raid was thinking and told him not to dwell on it too much because it'll only end in vain. Just then, the other dragons around them called out to Raid, asking for his homemade potion and a bunch of other things. Raid scratched his head at the sight of about 50 sky dragons needing his care. At this rate, he'll probably be working overtime until midnight again. Even so, he can keep going because he's with the sky dragons. Fast forward, Raid ended up pulling an all-nighter in the end. Just as he was about to organize the potions, a knight came to inform him that the Emperor was calling for him. Raid followed him out without hesitation and greeted the 37th Emperor of Lazaria. This fatty informed Raid that he's dismissed as of today. Raid's eyes widened in disbelief, so the Emperor explained that since their nation's sky dragons are obedient, it seems like anyone can take care of them. He is nothing more than a salary thief anyway. Raid countered that the only reason the sky dragons have been so docile until now is because he, with the Dragon Tamer skill, has cared for them, reached out to them, and built a bond with their hearts. But the Emperor believed that to be all foolishness. There's no such thing as conversing with dragons. If they have money to waste on an incompetent person like him, then they'd be better off acquiring new sky dragons. The Chancellor agreed. Above all, Raid's foolish insistence on resting the dragons has only gotten in the way. Because of him, many of the sky dragons could not sortie with the Dragon Knights. Raid thought that was ridiculous. Even if it's the Emperor and the nobles, in an empire sustained by the Dragon Knight Corps, there should be more proper knowledge about sky dragons. Anyway, he's accused of false reports and negligence of duty. Normally, he'd get sentenced to death, but the Emperor chose not to defile the Empire's soil with his filthy blood. Therefore, he decided to banish him from this empire instead. Raid couldn't believe what was happening. He's certain that this was wrong. His father, who was a dragon tamer caretaker, and the previous emperor were good friends. They're understanding each other beyond status and rank. But ever since the former emperor's sudden death and his son's succession with the Chancellor also replaced, things suddenly changed. He noticed the other officials around them giggling and whispering amongst themselves. It seems they were all in on it together. And with that, he was warned to never set foot on the Empire's soil again before getting kicked out. Before leaving, Raid snuck inside the place the dragons were staying at and woke them up to inform them that he had been dismissed as a caretaker. Officially, it's exile, but given the risk that he might leak information about the sky dragons to another country, they'll likely send pursuers before long. It's sudden, he knows, but he came to say farewell to this life. The dragons erupted in chaos, suggesting that he ride them and escape while they cause havoc for him. They'll definitely help him. He just needs to unlock the chains and open the door. Raid asked all of them to calm down and reminded them that if they do that, all of them will be executed. Also, even if he freed them, some of them would surely be shot down by the anti-dragon barriers. He's grateful for the thought, but he can't put them all, the ones he and his father raised, in danger for his sake. The dragons' heads dropped down, feeling helpless that they can't even do anything to help Raid. If he's leaving, then does this mean they'll never see him again? Raid pressed his lips together to stop himself from crying before giving them a smile and thanking them for everything up until now. The dragons who were left left alone, let out a loud cry. Hearing that, Raid gritted his teeth. He can't stop now. For Faye and the others' sake, he can't let them grieve any further. He swore to escape no matter what. All that running led him to the Walren's great forest, where one would end up back where they started unless they follow the predetermined path. It was such a twisted path, just like when he trained here with his father. But if he's to shake off the pursuers, then this is the place. Once he ventured deeper into the forest, he saw a beautiful woman with pointed ears just casually strolling around. She looks like a fairy of the moon. No, wait. Standing alone in a place like that, she'll be attacked by monsters. Raid ran towards her, catching her attention. When she turned to him, her eyes lit up as if she recognized him before smiling. Raid blushed as he saw her, wondering about who she was. At that moment, a monster suddenly appeared behind her. It was a high kobold. The monster rushed towards the woman, who fell back in fear. Raid activated his skill. Determined to not let the high kobold attack the woman, he cast sealing arts, dragon binding chains, and chained up the high kobold. He tugged the chains to pull the monster closer, and when it was finally within reach, Raid stabbed its neck with a dagger. The woman watched in awe, while Raid sheathed his sword, turning to her after hearing her praise. It wasn't anything great though. His clan mastered sealing arts like these to restrain dragons when they go on a rampage. The dragon binding chains are sealing arts said to bind even the strongest monsters, dragons themselves. Against ordinary monsters, their movements can be restrained in an instant. But that's besides the point. It was more important to confirm whether she was hurt. Fortunately, she wasn't, thanks to him saving her again. That confused Raid. What did she mean again? Could a cute girl like her have any connection with a guy drowning in overtime like him? The woman thought it was only natural that he didn't recognize her, especially not in this form. In that case, she decided to transform, hoping he'd remember her in that form. She turned into a being that walks on 4 legs, with wings sprouting independently from the back, ignoring mass and volume. A highly advanced form of transformation magic, the pinnacle of dragonkind, living since ancient times. An ancient dragon. The dragons of the Empire are called sky dragons. They are considered a relatively newly evolved type of dragon, but this one, it's an ancient dragon. Could she be the ancient dragon he saved 3 years ago? That's right. She is Luna, and she returned to this land upon hearing of his plight. Raid wondered who told her that, and she replied that it was their kin, the sky dragons he raised like family in the Empire. That got him even more confused. How did everyone in the dragon stables manage that? Apparently, they placed their voices into their roars and delivered them to her. They asked her to grant Raid the wings of salvation before the pursuers reach him, and at the same time told her about his character. The sincerity he showed toward dragons, she truly feels it is admirable. The dragon tamer's skill only lets Raid understand roars or growls directed at him. It seems that the roar the sky dragons let out earlier was meant for Luna. He has to thank them if he meets them again. Wait a second, did they just call her the Dragon Princess? That's right. She is the daughter of the Dragon King, so she is the Dragon Princess. Raid did remember something about that. His father once said that ancient dragons have royalty who unite the dragon kind, but he never thought he'd actually see one with his own eyes. To think that by chance, the one he saved 3 years ago was the Dragon Princess. Fate can be strange indeed. At that time, Luna's throat was swollen from illness, so she couldn't express her gratitude. To repay the debt of being saved, and because ancient dragons like them undoubtedly need his power, she'd like it if he would come with her to the Dragon Nation, where the ancient dragons dwell. Raid smiled. He was just wondering what he should do next anyway. Then, he'll be counting on her from now on. Luna flapped her wings and asked if he was ready. Upon hearing that he was, they departed immediately to the Dragon Nation. Back at the castle, the Emperor read a report and was satisfied that all the excessive salary he'd been paying Raid can now finally be spent on indulging his hobby of buying sky dragons. By now, Raid must have already been silenced by the pursuers he sent after him. Suddenly, a loud roar rang through the night, causing the Emperor to drop his wine. The Chancellor rushed to his study to report that treason had arisen. The Emperor ordered him to summon the Dragon Knights and suppress it quickly, no matter who it was. The Chancellor was about to respond when a fire cut through the room, and a dragon peeked inside the scorched wall behind the Emperor. He could not believe what was happening right before his eyes. The Sky Dragon, who seemed to be Fae, roared and rampaged, breaking everything in its path. The Emperor ordered the Chancellor to restrain the Sky Dragons with the Dragon Knights at once. The Chancellor would love to, but the Sky Dragons refused to let the Dragon Knights mount on them. Fae leaned down, facing the Emperor, who tried to reason that he's the ruler of this empire. As if the dragons care about that. Their ears are keen by nature, so the conversations in this castle reach them completely. They were angry at the Emperor for casting out Raid, who was like family, and even seeking for his life. Therefore, this is his retribution. Fae let out a breath, targeting the Emperor, who collapsed on the floor. Before completely passing out, he saw as the Sky Dragons release a dragon's breath one after another. He couldn't believe that Raid was holding back these ferocious Sky Dragons all on his own, but he's curious as to why they suddenly went wild. Meanwhile, Luna, who was flying through the night sky with Raid on her back, asked whether he'd chosen her as his partner since he's coming with her to the Dragon Nation. Raid told her that he did didn't since he wasn't a dragon knight, so he can't possibly make an ancient dragon his partner, Luna exclaimed in confusion and complained about him not officially choosing her when he'd been taming her ever since he saved her 3 years ago. That's such cruel teasing. Raid was left dumbfounded. Tame originally means to place the target under one's influence and control. One can tame targets according to their skill, but him, taming an ancient dragon, suddenly he remembered a memory, and that's when he finally realized what he'd done. Luna was still down as she asked if he'd forgotten that he forced her into being tamed and bound her against her will. There's no mistake. Even if it was for healing, Raid accidentally kept Luna tamed for 3 whole years. A tamed target can hardly disobey its master's orders. Raid apologized. Even if he forgot, it must have made her feel awful. In that case, he'll release her right away. However, Luna refused. She understands that this taming was to save her life. And besides, taming an ancient dragon is impossible for ordinary humans. If she's tamed by a tamer of his caliber, then she has no complaints. More than that, while in this tamed state, she felt her flight ability greatly increase when he was riding on her back. When he's near, she feels her strength grow. So, to suddenly have the taming released now and be weakened would be troublesome. Then, she demanded for him to take responsibility for binding her for 3 years. Raid agreed with a nod. He found himself wishing without thinking. Anyway, she smiled, but he felt a strange pressure. If he refuses clumsily, he's worried that she might look sad again. Ancient dragons are a race that values strength. Surely that's the reason she can accept being tamed. Say it till you believe it. Luna turned back at him with a smile and extended her hand, welcoming him to the Dragon Nation. The dragons stared at Raid, with one of them announcing that the princess, Luna, had brought back a human. The dragons murmured amongst themselves. They already heard about Raid from Luna, so they had a rough idea of their relationship. Some even teased her regarding their closeness, making her flustered. Anyway, the two entered a cave where the Dragon King was staying. The moment he saw Raid, he recognized him as the descendant of the dragon tamers and the savior of his daughter, and welcomed him to their nation. He is Albarn, the ruler of this land as its Dragon King. Raid trembled, overwhelmed by Albarn's presence. Then, he quickly got on one knee and introduced himself. He believes that Albarn has already heard the circumstances, but he's grateful that they're sheltering him. Well, he healed Luna's illness and tended to the sky dragons in the Empire, so of course Albarn cannot overlook someone like him. Well then, that's enough of this stiff preamble. He should rest for now. Luna offered to show Raid the way to his new place, but he did not move an inch and instead stared at Albarn's scales, asking if he could touch them. Albarn agreed, saying he didn't mind, so Raid stood up and touched his scales, healing them. Luna, who was watching things go down, was amazed that her father's scales are regaining their shine. Compared to other elder dragons, Albarn's scales had less luster, so Raid thought that his flow of magic might be poor. It looks like he saw through it, after all. The thing is, Albarn had little time to rest his body, being far from idle, so he was really grateful to Raid, who thought this was nothing. This much was only natural since he's now under their care. Luna couldn't hide her awe at the technique Raid used to heal an elder dragon's body. It was such an incredible power, yet for Raid, it's something ordinary. Well, that's what being a dragon tamer is, but hearing that makes him happy, especially since they called him a salary thief back in the Empire. Luna couldn't believe they'd do such a thing. Now she's certain that the Empire has without a doubt far underestimated Raid's power. There is absolutely no tamer more capable than him. What could they possibly have been thinking? Raid just chuckled at her outburst and continued following her, passing by the dragons resting by the waterfall. Seeing them, Raid couldn't help but think of Faye and the other sky dragons. He wished he could have given them such a spacious life. Luna stopped in her tracks and showed Raid the new place he'll be living in. It was a beautiful treehouse. No, it's almost like a tree village, with many small houses near each other. Could it be that other races besides elder dragons live in this country? He climbed up the ladder and saw the cat spirit tribe there. The cat spirit tribe are beast folk close to spirits, a mysterious race. Though they cannot use magic, they're known for explosive physical strength through magic power. Raid heard that they'd already gone extinct, but it seems this is where they were all this time. A cat spirit tribe member saw Luna and came to greet her, but paused when she saw Raid. She couldn't believe that there's a human here. She's so excited. Luna introduced Raid. She told her about him before. Luna thought the dragon's nest would be too hard for a human to rest in, so she figured Raid should live in this settlement from today. The kid from the cat spirit tribe didn't have a problem with that. Actually, she was excited about it. She turned to Raid and introduced herself as Rowana, calling him Big Brother. Raid seemed taken aback. Seeing his reaction, Rowana wondered if calling him Big Brother was not okay, but he assured her it was fine. It just caught him off guard for a sec. Anyway, he shook her hand. He's looking forward to being with her from now on. Rowana stared at his hand before sniffing it. Raid wondered if something was wrong. It wasn't anything like that. She just smelled all sorts of dragons. About 100 maybe. That's because he took care of the sky dragons all on his own. Rowana found him amazing. No wonder Luna's power has grown these past 3 years. That's all she ever talks about, by the way. Raid seemed to be deep in thought after hearing that. It looks like the boost to a tame target's magic power and physical ability functions even at a distance. If Luna Luna's abilities have grown since 3 years ago, then there's only one reason. It must be the effect of his taming. Behind him, Rowana thought that she might also get stronger if she gets tamed by Raid as well. In that case, she suggested that he take her too as she wants to get stronger. Raid waved his hand, hesitating. He warned her that she'll be bound to obey her master once she's tamed. Even so, Rowana still insisted that it was fine since she can smell that he isn't a bad person. Oh right, the cat spirit tribe can understand people by scent. But even if she says that, he's still opposed to the idea. Why is she so desperate to grow stronger anyway? Luna explained that the cat spirit tribe were driven from their home by the surge of monsters in recent years and they fled to the land of dragons to survive. That's why Rowana longs for the strength to reclaim her homeland and spends her days in training. That's right. So if there's a way to grow strong quickly, of course she would jump at it without a second thought. That's the heart of a person. No, actually, a cat. That's the heart of a cat. Still, Raid advised her to be a little more cautious. But such a small child, carrying the burden of her race? Shoot, he's starting to give in. Alright, fine. He understands the situation well, but he's a dragon tamer so he can't guarantee that he'll be able to tame her. She should keep that in mind. Rowana assured him that it was fine. Compared to looking after 100 dragons, she should be easy, shouldn't she? Well, when she puts it like that, Raid can't help but want to succeed. Raid released his magic and unfolded a magic circle underneath Rowana's feet. They both closed their eyes, waiting for the perfect time to align their life wavelengths. Once they did, Raid chanted and formed a contract, taming her. A choker-like light appeared around Rowana's neck before disappearing. That completes the tame. Raid asked how she was feeling. Rowana clenched and unclenched her fists, trying to gauge her status. She does feel power surging up inside her, and went ahead to try it out real quick. She walked over to a branch that was as thick as Raid's arm and sliced it in half with her bare hands without a problem. Raid looked like he was about to pass out from shock, while Luna looked like a proud mama. Rowana stared at her hand in amazement. This is her power. As she thought, Raid was no ordinary man. She asked him to train with her if he had free time because she wants to grow stronger and stronger. Meanwhile, at the detached palace in the Lazaria Empire, the Dragon Knights complained that since that day, the dragon won't obey their commands at all. At this rate, they won't be able to protect the people from the monsters pressing at the borders. The Emperor clicked his tongue in frustration. He already knows that much. The Chancellor respectfully suggested to proceed assuming Raid's still alive since his body has yet to be found among the dead, and that they should bring him back, the man who deserted the Empire, and silence the Sky Dragons with him. The Emperor could not believe the nonsense he was pooting. Surely he doesn't believe that Raid can actually speak with the Sky Dragons, right? The Chancellor countered that it's not a matter of whether they believe or not. The truth is, the dragons only began rampaging after Raid, who possessed the skill, left the Empire. It's not like they have to keep Raid around forever. They can get rid of him once they quiet the Sky Dragons and establish control over them again without him. The Emperor finally smirked at his words, agreeing to search for Raid. Then, he ordered his men to drag that salary thief back and make him work off all the pay they've given him no matter what. Even if it's just for show, Raid made him bow his head. Therefore, he'll at least take his head as payment. Over the next few days, Raid gradually grew accustomed to his new life. Just like he did in the Empire, he made potions to heal the dragon's injuries or illnesses. After healing a dragon's wound, a cat spirit tribe member thanked him. Since catfolk like them channel most of their mana into physical enhancement, they can hardly use magic, making potion brewing a real struggle. Raid assured them that it was nothing. This is just a small token of thanks for providing them with food, clothing, and shelter. Rowana beamed. She was sure that the Dragon Nation will be safe as long as they've got Raid with them. Raid chuckled, saying that she was exaggerating. But how many years has it been since he was last recognized for his efforts like this? For the first time, he smiled genuinely. He wants to live in this country forever. Luna heard his mumbling and grabbed his hand, asking him to live here. They too will surely be able to lend their strength to him. Seeing her pretty face, Raid closed his eyes and repeatedly reminded himself that Luna is his partner. He should seriously consider settling here though. Just then, they heard an awfully close monster's roar. That's actually what troubles Luna. Lately, monsters have grown more active, and large ones are closing in on the Dragon Nation. A few scratches are no problem thanks to Raid's potions, but monsters drawing near to the Elder Dragons has never happened before, and it worries them. Raid understood the situation, and since he's indebted to the Dragon Nation, he wants to do more to help its people. Alright then, he's formulated a plan. He'll tame every large monster around here himself. That left both Luna and Rowana dumbfounded. He says that as if it's an easy task. Despite their doubts, the two came with Raid inside the forest, watching a griffin from behind a tree. Luna questioned if Raid was serious about taming all of the large monsters, while Rowana claimed to have heard that taming monsters is nothing like taming beasts, especially powerful ones like griffins since their strong magic bounces back taming spells. Raid had a confident smirk as he told them not to worry and to just watch him. He walked towards the griffin, who noticed him after getting close, but it's too late. Raid had already used his sealing art to bind its body and prevent it from flying away. Like he did with Rowana, he chanted and formed a contract, taming the griffin, who landed back on the ground and and rubbed its head against his palm. Raid informed the two of his success, but even after seeing it with their own eyes, they still couldn't believe that he tamed a griffin just like that. He's really a dragon tamer straight out of the legend. That's because Raid had tamed griffins plenty of times back during his training, which shocked Luna. Even elder dragons struggle with monsters like that. How reckless. Anyway, what will he do now? Drive it far away? Nope. Raid will order it not to oppose the Dragon Nation, then let it be. Rowana exclaimed in confusion, wondering what the point of taming it was, so Raid explained that monsters like griffins usually establish a territory and monsters instinctively avoid entering those areas. So if this griffin becomes an ally, it'll guard this entire region for them. In that case, if it's going to live around here, it'll need a name. How about Fawn? The griffin roared as if agreeing before flying off. Alright, now it's time to tame every large monster near the Dragon Nation like this. And so, while resting between battles, Raid managed to tame 20 large monsters in just half a day. With them around, the fear of other monsters encroaching upon the Dragon Nation was almost completely eliminated. As a reward, the Dragon King granted him a treasure and a monthly salary of 100 gold coins, an incredible fortune. The news about Raid being exiled reached the citizens of the Empire, who couldn't hide their concern. That explains why monsters are coming so close to them. The sky dragons that were forcibly controlled with dragon manipulation magic are reaching their limit too. Not just that, they also do not have enough healing potions. When Raid was here, things like this never happened. To fill the gap that Raid left, some people went to various potion shops to find something similar to the one Raid makes. However, even they can't make anything of his level. Meanwhile, the Emperor, who ordered for the search of Raid, angrily slammed his fist on his throne's armrest and called every one of his men useless fools for failing to find Raid. Not until a knight barged inside the room to inform him that they've found out where Raid is. According to testimony from travelers, he apparently headed toward the secret realm. The Emperor smirked after hearing that and ordered them to ready the carriage. He himself will capture that salary thief and extract everything from him. The art of controlling sky dragons, the method for creating healing potions, and everything else. This time, he'll find some suitable reason and execute him for sure. Faye, who heard everything thanks to his good hearing, let out a roar that rang through the sky. That roar reached Luna, who immediately informed Raid that the Emperor and his men were coming to capture him. That's right, there's no mistake since the Empire's sky dragons told them with their roars. Raid could not believe that Emperor. The Empire should have a covenant with the ancient dragons that says not to interfere with the secret realm. Is he going to ignore even what his ancestors have protected for generations? Raid didn't want to cause unnecessary trouble for Luna and the others, so he thought of leaving the Dragon Nation while he could. However, Albarn in his human form stopped and asked him not to carry this burden alone since he is now a resident of this country. Then, he turned to everyone, who also heard the story. Rowana suddenly emerged from a bush, claiming they'll help Raid if he's in trouble. The dragons agreed. After all, they owe him for taking care of them, and it's thanks to Raid that they're not being attacked by monsters anymore. More than that, Raid is Luna's lifesaver, so she cannot abandon him in his time of need. Then it's settled. From now on, they shall repel those from the Divine Dragon Empire. To exile him at will and then try to bring him back now, they shall show them that such misconduct has its limits. A faint blush appeared on Raid's cheeks. He's really grateful to everyone. On the other hand, the Emperor, along with the Dragon Knights, were now on their way to the secret realm. The Chancellor looked out the carriage's window and watched the sky dragons with concern. Just yesterday, they wouldn't listen at all, so why are they obediently accepting the Dragon Knight's manipulation magic today? He has a bad feeling about this. The Emperor smirked, wondering where Raid could be. He'll definitely give him plenty of payback for making him go this far. Suddenly, their carriage shook after a bunch of griffins began attacking them. They attacked the carriage until the ground beneath it began to crack, causing the carriage to fall off the cliff. The cowardly Emperor called out to the Dragon Knights for help. However, they couldn't make a move as the griffins blocked their way, and so the carriage continued to fall off the cliff and crashed on the ground. Raid, who was riding Luna's back in the sky, was worried that they might have killed the Emperor and his men. Luna assured him that they're alive. After all, he told them not to take their lives. Then, she landed back down on the ground, approaching the wrecked carriage like a predator. Unfortunately, the Emperor survived. Literally, how is Bro still alive? He got blasted by a dragon's breath and fell off a cliff. It's either he has 9 lives or plot armor. He crawled out of the carriage, stood back up, and apologized when he saw Raid, demanding that he come back to the Empire with him. Raid refused. He didn't even have to think twice. How could he forget how the Emperor exiled him unfairly? Right, since they're at it, he'll tell him clearly. He'll never serve him again, no matter how nice he tries to make it sound. Not now, not ever. The Emperor gritted his teeth in anger and ordered the Dragon Knights to kill Raid. The Elder Dragons could not believe that he's trying to make the Sky Dragons attack Raid. What a vile Emperor. But fear not, they're going to free the Sky Dragons. They flew towards the enemies and grabbed the Dragon Knights, throwing them off the Sky Dragons' backs. And with that, the dragon manipulation magic wore off, and the Sky Dragons joined the others, surrounding the Emperor. The Emperor cried in fear, and even had the nerve to order Raid to immediately stop the dragons. To resist him was outright treason treason, you know. Raid just smiled, acting clueless. He was banished from the Empire, right? Which means he's no longer an Imperial subject, so that's not the appropriate way to put it. The Emperor got angrier and was about to curse Raid when Luna angrily destroyed the ground with a flick of her tail, scaring that wimp of an Emperor. Raid assured Luna that he was fine and asked her to calm down, which she obeyed. The Emperor was surprised to see an ancient dragon like her calm down at Raid's words. It seems he can really talk to dragons. In that case, as the Emperor, he orders Raid to tell all the dragons here to accept the Dragon Knight's orders and save his empire. Then, he threatened him that if he doesn't make the dragons obey, the Imperial citizens will be torn apart by the approaching monsters. Raid wondered what to do. He has no intention of obeying, but he didn't want the people to suffer either. He turned to Faye and the others, asking about their thoughts. Well, they're fine with protecting humans since they've lived that way up until now, but they can't stand following that retarded Emperor anymore. Raid couldn't help but smile. The fact that they're saying that protecting humans is fine shows how kind they all are. But with the same treatment as before, they'll be overworked again and ruin their health. With that in mind, Raid suggested presenting a treatment improvement plan for the Empire's sky dragons, and the Emperor will approve everything. In addition, he has to promise that he'll never target Raid again and won't interfere with the secret realm. The Emperor scoffed, questioning who'd take orders from a salary thief like him. The moment he finished his sentence, a beam of light shot through right beside him, forming a hole on the ground and missing him by a hair. The Emperor dropped to the ground in fear, wetting himself. He trembled as Albarn in his human form approached him. There's only one person that comes to mind when he thinks of a silver ancient dragon that can take human form. It can't be, right? Albarn confirmed his thoughts and introduced himself as the Dragon King. Long ago, he made a covenant with the Emperor of the Divine Dragon Empire, but this fatty broke it and sent soldiers to this land. Had Raid not stopped him beforehand, his body would have turned to dust by now. The Emperor sobbed in fear. If only he hadn't banished Raid. After that, Raid made a treatment improvement plan agreement between the Emperor and the Sky Dragons. The contents included limiting the number of breath attacks that strain their bodies and increasing their meals and vacation time, among other things. Raid thanked Luna for lending him their strength. It's thanks to her and everyone in the Dragon Nation that this was resolved without much issue. Luna assured him that it was nothing, so he shouldn't be so distant. Actually, Rowana wanted to join the fight as well, but was thankfully stopped by the other Cat Spirit tribe members. If that Emperor saw the rare Cat Spirit tribe, it would definitely become troublesome. So, it's actually good that Rowana and the others didn't come out. Anyway, with this, Raid would no longer be chased by the Empire. A new life is beginning. At the same time, at a neighboring kingdom, the figure of a mysterious girl could be seen running breathlessly towards a dark alley. North of the Dragon Nation lies the kingdom of Exiled. Raid, who was on Luna's back, suggested that they go on foot from here to avoid standing out, because if they fly a little farther, they'll reach the capital, and if people find out about ancient dragons or the catfolk, it might cause a commotion. Luna understood and landed on the nearby snowy forest, transforming into her human form. Suddenly, she sneezed. It's colder than she imagined, so Raid handed her a coat. It was a spare he borrowed from the catfolk. Luna wore it and thanked him. She feels much warmer now. It's been a few days since the Emperor's attack, and they're now heading to Falca, the royal capital of the Eagle Kingdom, to buy ingredients for making potions. Rowana excitedly walked forward, so Luna had to remind her not to get too carried away. They're accompanying Raid as his tamed beasts to serve as his guards, not because they wanted to have fun together with him. Based on her expression, it seems she's the one excited to have fun. They walked further until they reached the kingdom's gate and entered Falca, the royal capital. It was such a lively city. Rowana noticed bird-type monsters in the streets and asked Raid if that was all right. Raid assured her that it was because those monsters, Cymurgs, are beasts that support the kingdom of Exiled. Their feathers protect them, making them resistant to the cold. Rowana was amazed that he knew so much, but this is nothing. He just learned it back when he came here a few times for work during his days in the Empire. Suddenly, they heard a growl coming from Luna's stomach. She blushed in embarrassment and apologized. It was just, she caught a delicious smell from that food stall selling skewers. She must be tired after flying so long. So Raid walked over to the stall to buy 3 skewers of marinated boar meat. When he received them, he got back and handed Luna and Rowana one each. Luna carefully chomped a piece and was pleasantly surprised by how delicious it was. This is a flavor they don't have back in the Dragon Nation after all. Rowana, on the other hand, silently chowed down on the skewer without a word. It must have really been to her taste. After finishing the skewers, they explored the market to finish shopping before sundown. They went from one stall to another to buy the things they needed, and ended up buying quite a lot. Just as they were to pass by an alley, a mysterious girl bumped into Raid. Despite the cloak covering her, he noticed her pointed ears. Is she an elf? There's a slave collar on her neck as well. In the Exiled Kingdom, those guilty of serious crimes are enslaved. What in the world could this girl have done? The trembling girl clasped her hands, begging them to hide her. But before they could do anything, some men emerged from the alley to catch the girl. Luna suggested they help her, to which Raid agreed. Handing her over probably won't end well anyway. He released his mana and deployed a magic circle, taming the Cymurgs and ordering them to to drive the men off. The Simurgs immediately flew towards the three men, who couldn't do anything but let Raid and the others run away. While running away, Raid released Tame on the Simurgs. This way, there will be no trace left that they were under his control. The girl exclaimed in amazement. She didn't know that dragon knights can also control things other than dragons. Raid seemed confused, so the girl pointed out that Luna is an ancient dragon. Then that means he's a dragon knight, right? Raid was taken aback. Could it be possible for a race with sharp intuition to notice that? It's true that Luna is an ancient dragon, but he's not a dragon knight, just a dragon caretaker. They reached a safer spot, where the girl explained that she sought his help because she heard that it's best to rely on a dragon knight in times of trouble, and introduced herself as Milfy. People mistake her for an elf sometimes, but she's actually a water spirit. But Raid heard spirits went extinct, just like the cat folks. Milfy pouted after noticing that Raid seemed skeptical, and decided to show him proof. She held out her hands, where water magically poured out without even using a magic circle. That's not sorcery, but magic. Sorcery such as taming requires mana and a magic circle, which acts like a blueprint. But when cast, some mana is always lost. Magic, on the other hand, can manipulate mana without a circle and mana loss. But generally, only beings extremely close to the specific nature, like spirits, can use it. In other words, the fact that Milfy can use magic proves she's a real spirit. Raid apologized for the late introduction, and introduced himself, along with Luna and Rowana. Then, he asked how a spirit like her ended up enslaved in the Igel Kingdom, so Milfy explained that she was kidnapped by those men from earlier about a year ago. That's how she got the slave collar. It looks like she was captured as a slave, and after desperately escaping, she stumbled upon them. Well, it does make sense that they'd kidnap such a rare race as a spirit. Rowana sniffed Milfy, and wondered what they should do. She was sure that it's fine to help her since she doesn't have any foul aura and feels pure. In that case, Raid suggested sheltering Milfy in the Dragon Nation. If they fly on Luna, those men won't be able to follow. Luna agreed. There's also the option of returning Milfy to her homeland if she wants that. Milfy, who was quietly listening to their conversation, expressed that she'd rather go with them if possible because there's no one left anymore even if she returns. They can do that, but the problem is this slave collar. As long as she wears it, she can't disobey her master. Raid told them it's fine as he has an idea, though he's worried that Milfy might not like it. Milfy assured him that it's fine. She doesn't care what it takes if it means getting this collar off. In that case, Raid will get onto it. He released his mana and deployed a magic circle to tame Milfy. Both taming and a slave collar are the same in that they force absolute obedience to the master. Their properties are quite similar too, so if he tames her with magic stronger than the slave collar, he'll overwrite Milfy's master, forcing it to make him her new one. Sparks appeared on Milfy's collar, pushing Raid back. Is it saying that he doesn't have enough mana yet? No way! He raised both of his hands again, determined to tame Milfy. Compared to taming an ancient dragon, a mere slave collar is nothing. After a few more sparks, the collar finally broke off and was replaced by a choker that represents her being one of Raid's tamed beasts. Just as Milfy was finally feeling relieved, the men chasing after her caught up to them. Hearing their voices nearby, Raid suggested holding them off while Luna takes Rowana and Milfy with her. However, Luna refused and suggested just flying from here at this point. Then, she transformed into her dragon form. They may stand out a bit, but it can't be helped given the situation. A crowd formed around them. There was no way that the people would not notice something as big as a dragon. Even the three men spotted them and ran after them. Raid quickly grabbed Milfy and ran towards Luna, while Rowana picked up a log and threw it at the men chasing after them. Finally, they got on Luna's back and took off. Once they got away, Raid let out a sigh of relief. They're done shopping, so he's satisfied, and they even saved Milfy as well. His only concern is whether the Dragon King will be upset that they took Milfy with them. Luna chuckled, assuring him that it's fine because her father is the type who always helps those in need. As another race, she's sure that he'll welcome Milfy. Despite finally getting away, Milfy seemed down. She was frustrated about how pathetic she was, even though she's a spirit. If only she was stronger, then she wouldn't have been captured. She's useless. Raid told her that wasn't true. Everyone starts out weak, so she just needs to grow stronger from there. Even a humble dragon caretaker like him will help her. Milfy thanked him for removing the collar and for supplying her with mana. Oh right, Raid never released the tame. He should do it now, but Milfy stopped him since it actually feels better having more mana as a spirit. Well, in that case, he'll leave it as is. Just then, Luna called out to Raid to inform him that a horde of monsters is approaching the Dragon Nation. The ancient dragons carried the message on their roars, and it said that the one leading the horde calls themselves one of the Demon King's 4 heavenly generals. They're the 4 most elite demons directly under the Demon King's command. They once ravaged the entire continent alongside the Demon King, bringing nations to ruin. Raid was surprised that they actually exist. He thought they were just stories to scare off children. Luna explained that her father, Albarn, has actually been suspecting that the recent surge in monster activity might mean the Demon King's revival is near. Raid was about to say something when he noticed a menacing aura behind him and saw Rowana's angry face. She insisted on going as well to help everyone in danger, while Milfy stated that she wants to stay by Raid's Raid's side. Raid didn't know what to do. Wouldn't it be safer to leave her with the catfolk village? But if something happens, it might actually be easier to protect her if she's by his side. Seeing his worried expression, Luna suggested they circle around from the rear, assess the situation, and plan from there. That was a good idea. He's really grateful that he has her. So, that's what they did. They assessed the situation from the sky, with Raid using binoculars to get a closer look at the countless monsters facing the dragons, and more importantly, the woman at the very front, who introduced herself as one of the Demon King's 4 heavenly generals, Ael the Blazing Flame. She ordered them to hand over the water spirit they stole from the kingdom of Igel immediately. If they do, she shall grant them mercy by ending their lives without pain. Milfy's face darkened after realizing that she seems to be the target, but it's fine since Ael hasn't noticed them yet. Raid will bind her with a long-range sealing spell, and Luna will hit her with her breath. Raid smirked, deploying a magic circle. Shall they do this then? Fast forward to Raid's place, where everyone was chilling. Rowana thought that was kind of anticlimactic for a Demon King's heavenly general. Milfy agreed. Between Raid's chains and Luna's breath, it was over in a flash. What a bummer. She wanted to join in too. Luna believed that it only worked because it's a surprise attack, though it's thanks to that they managed to wipe out the monsters that had gathered. Rowana asked what they're going to do with Ael, and Raid replied that they'll just have to keep her bound with sealing magic for now. Who knows what she'd do if they set her free. By the way, they're not planning on sleeping in his room, are they? Especially Luna. Luna ignored his words and continued to cling to his arms, claiming that this was also a measure to prevent incidents. Rowana yawned, asking what was wrong with that. Raid sighed. He can't tell the two of them, but there was something off when they put Ael in the cell. Still, as a man, this situation is way too tough. How could he sleep when Luna's melons are pressing against his arm? Raid turned to the two, asking if they could talk to Luna about this, but they've already gone to sleep. Poor Raid. It seems he won't be able to sleep tonight. Meanwhile, at the cell, a dark reaper broke the chains to free Ael. The chain breaking alerted Raid and woke him up. Luna woke up after he suddenly moved, while Rowana, who has keen senses, also seemed to realize that something was wrong. They went out to see smoke from the direction Ael was being held. It seems she broke free. They have to go, so they're leaving Milfy in Rowana's care. While they were running, dark reapers flew towards them, so Raid bound them with chains using his sealing art. Once they fell, that's when he saw the slave collar on their necks. Ael, who burned everything in her path, laughed as she walked towards them, announcing her return. Raid finally understands what happened. She made the Dark Reaper undo his sealing spell. Ael sighed, ignoring him. Slipping past the eyes of those guardian ancient dragons was quite the task, though she did blow them away with her flames. Luna got angry after hearing that and transformed into her dragon form. She prepared to use dragon breath to make Ael pay for the crime of burning their homes and kin, when Ael raised her hand with a relaxed expression and trapped Luna inside a dome. Luna tried to break free by using dragon breath, however, it did not work. Ael laughed at her horrified expression. She can struggle all she wants, but this flame prison lets no magic escape outward. Raid was getting a bit nervous. Did Ael just conjure a flame barrier strong enough to nullify Luna's breath, without even a magic circle? Even if it was a surprise attack that caught her, it seems the power of a Demon King's heavenly general is nothing to sneeze at. Ael flew up and shot Raid with fire. It's his turn now. He shall regret the insolence of binding her and burn by her blazing flames. Luna worriedly called out to Raid, who used his sealing art to suppress the flames, and smirked at Ael's surprised expression. The sealing arts of a dragon tamer can bind even ancient dragons, so of course they suppress and nullify all kinds of magic. Ael also smirked and turned her flames into a sword. She shall answer with power befitting him. Raid waited for her to come. Ael's mana is clearly greater than his, but his sealing arts have good compatibility against her magic. Then, he'll finish this in one blow with a grand technique, and pour in every ounce of his magic power to his sealing arts. Secret technique. Soten Kagutsuchi. Ael tried attacking the chains, however her flames were being absorbed. And finally, Raid successfully caught her, binding her with his chains. That skill he used is a sealing secret art designed for fire dragons, and it seems to be effective against demons as well. He ordered Ael to surrender, but she refused, attempting to push back against Soten Kagutsuchi with sheer magic power. Raid told her to stop as she'll burn out her mana and self-destruct at this rate. He doesn't intend to kill her at all. However, she'd rather do this than be bound by an enemy twice over. Raid ran towards her and apologized, as he'll have to end this before she self-destructs. He rolled the chains on his knuckles and raised his fist to punch her in the stomach. This is the Divine Dragon Empire style. Dragon Knight combat arts. Piercing dragon style. Ael got knocked out and collapsed to the floor, while Luna ran over to Raid to ask if he was alright. After that, he and Luna carried the unconscious Ael into the cave. He added taming on top of his chains to make sure she couldn't resist. Once Ael woke up, Raid ordered her not to rampage or hurt anyone anymore, to answer his questions honestly, and above all, not to use magic. Instead of responding, Ael's expression turned to the one your dad loved the most. Being bound by invisible chains, she felt something inside her was awakening. Truly, a certified VDSM lover. She then turned to Raid, assuming that this taming excuse is just a front. Now that she was forced to obey, she asked what demands he was planning to make. He may do as he likes with her, but he shouldn't think he can chain her heart. Raid let out an exasperated sigh. She was like this the first time he met her too. This is a bad influence on Rowana and Milfi, and way too different from how she is in combat. A menacing aura surrounded Luna. Oh, she is pissed AF. She warned Ale that if she tries to seduce her man one more time, she'll definitely make her pay for it. Ale responded that she understood in a panic. However, tempting men is a succubus's nature, so she should allow her at least a little indulgence and be lenient. Just then, Milfi angrily splashed Ale with water. She'll definitely make this big meloned flame woman pay for putting a slave collar on her. And oh, she is not done yet. She was about to attack again, when Raid stopped her as there are things he still wants to ask Ale. That's why he tamed her instead of sealing her. Milfi finally backed down. If Ale is Raid's slave, then she'll forgive her. Raid sighed in relief and reminded her that Ale is only tamed, and not a slave. Then, he turned towards Ale to question why she used her underlings to kidnap Milfi. Why, he asks. That's because she's the last surviving water spirit who sealed her, and a princess at that. Water is her mortal weakness, so she only sought precautions against being sealed again. Milfi was dumbfounded after hearing that. She's a princess? That's news to her. Her childhood memories must be hazy, but that's not all. The same goes for Raid. He has sealing arts strong enough to suppress Ale's true flames after all. It feels disgraceful for her to be defeated twice by the same opponent, but he must be a descendant of the Imperial Dragon Knights who sealed the Demon King. Long ago, they were legendary figures who rode divine dragons and sealed the Demon King. Raid's parents never told him anything about that. Perhaps, like Milfi, it's simply that he himself doesn't know. That's possible, but right now, there's something more important that Raid needs to hear from her. It's about the monsters that have grown active recently, and the Demon King. Ale scoffed, as if she'd answer so easily. However, her mouth started moving on its own, spilling every information she knew. She sighed. She gets it now. Ale began to explain that the monster's activity is because the Demon King's long-standing seal has weakened, and they've been roused by his presence. Raid asked where the sealed Demon King was, but Ale didn't know. If she knew, she'd have gotten there herself already. It seems the Demon King sealed by the Imperial Dragon Knights is untraceable. In ancient times, he is said to have wielded enough power to nearly rule the entire continent. If that Demon King is on the verge of revival, then they need to find his seal before the demons do, and reseal him. Raid asked if Ale knew what the other heavenly generals were up to, but again, she didn't. However, she does know that 2 were defeated long ago, leaving only 1 besides her. Luna thought that was good news. If only one as skilled as Ale remains, then they should be able to handle it if they attack. They wish. The last of the 4 heavenly generals is a demon rivaling even the Demon King himself. If he comes, even the Dragon Nation ruled by the ancient dragons will not survive. In that case, they should search for the Demon King's sealing place for now. Luna agreed. They'll ask the ancient dragons to help them find it. Raid apologized for relying on her too much, making Luna chuckle. Both she and the Dragon Nation have been saved by him, so now they're even. Rowana, who was quietly standing there, apologized for interrupting when they're all fired up, but she'd like Raid to come to the homeland of the catfolk. There's someone there she wants him to help. Fast forward to Raid and the gang flying on Luna and another dragon's back. Malaria, the catfolk sitting behind Raid, bowed to thank him for his help in bringing her home. There's nothing to be thankful for. Raid did that because he knew exactly what it's like to care for one's family. Still, Malaria felt down because she alone couldn't persuade the elder, her grandfather. After they tamed Ale, they heard Malaria's story about how she wanted to reclaim her clan's ancestral guardian sword to protect them from invaders. So after convincing the Bayuse chief who was against her homecoming, they set out for the cat spirit tribe's homeland that was stolen by the demon clan. Malaria glanced at the dragon behind them, surprised that such an incredible group of people gathered like this. Right, even Raid and the others were surprised that Gallard came with them. Gallard reasoned that he came as Luna, the dragon princess's guard, and he won't screw up so they shouldn't worry. Ale scoffed. Did he not know that the ones who talk big are usually the first to fall? Milfi butted in, claiming that Gallard is like a big brother to the younger ancient dragons, so Ale might be the one in danger if she's not careful. That just pissed the hell out of Ale. Raid ignored the others' bickering and instead asked Malaria about what the guardian sword was like. It said that it once exorcised a great demon, a precious sword that the chief's family of the Busei clan has inherited for generations. However, their village was suddenly swarmed by kobolds, minotaurs, and a giant 3-headed hydra, among many other monsters, so they didn't even have a chance to grab the guardian sword. They landed on the ground, greeted by the ruined village of the cat spirit tribe. It was a terrible sight. Malaria agreed. It seems the elder and some of the others have all but given up on returning to their homeland, but on that day their village was attacked by monsters. She made a vow to her father and mother, who died protecting her, that someday she would take back everything from the monsters, the guardian's sword and their homeland, and return with her clan, with their heads held high. And then, in this village, once so beautiful it rivaled the land of dragons, they will live live on, free from the threat of monsters. She really wants to return home with everyone, so she'll get back the Guardian Sword no matter what. Raid nodded in agreement and asked where the Guardian Sword was. It's in the village chief's house, just ahead, and is being stored in a large cavern underneath it. At that moment, Luna froze after smelling something. She and Gallard, who seemed to have noticed as well, spread their wings to protect the group. It's the demons! They're coming! Fire suddenly shot towards them, but was thankfully blocked by the two dragons. The man, one of the two demons, was surprised that the wings of an ancient dragon could block his flames, while the girl seemed to have anticipated their return, thanks to what their lord, Exiled, told them. Ael's mouth dropped to the floor after seeing them, and immediately informed Raid that those two are the direct subordinates of one of the Demon King's 4 heavenly generals, Vasil. If Raid remembers correctly, Vasil is a demon powerful enough to rival the Demon King, and these are his vassals. The demon girl recognized Ael, making the guy beside her laugh. So they were the fiends that Vasil sent to the village of the water spirits. It seems they've successfully broken Ael's seal, but wait a second. Why is she with these guys? Could it be that she's been taken as a prisoner or something? Ael nervously sweated and hid behind Raid, exercising her right to remain silent. Raid sighed. He's starting to question whether she really is one of the Demon King's 4 heavenly generals. Milphie spoke, catching the two demons' attention, who recognized that she's a water spirit, to think that there were still survivors. Milphie ignored their words and focused on the fact that they just mentioned Vasil sending monsters to the village of the water spirits. In other words, not only did he have monsters attack this village, he's also the one who destroyed the village of the water spirits with them. The demon girl smirked. That's correct. After all, they're a clan powerful enough to seal Ael, one of the Demon King's 4 heavenly generals. Milphie gritted her teeth, mumbling that this was unforgivable. Raid stepped back and hid his hand behind his back, while Milphie gathered water in anger. The demon guy smirked and gathered magic. He is Goras of the Demon Fire, subordinate of one of the Demon King's 4 heavenly generals. By order of their lord Vasil, they can burn anyone who comes for the sword, except for the cat spirit tribe. The girl beside him is Syl of the Green Wind. She's sleepy, so she'd appreciate it if they could make this quick. Those two, their mana levels surpass even an average dragon's. Good thing Raid came prepared. He deployed a magic circle, and his binding chains shot out behind the two demons, capturing them. Goras cursed at him, complaining that a surprise attack was a dirty move. Whatever, Raid's not taking any chances. He learned this well when he captured Ael. Even if they're a demon, if he binds them with sealing arts before they can use magic, it's over in an instant. He told Malaria to go get the Guardian Sword while they have the chance, and to hurry before more monsters show up. As if on cue, the 3-headed Hydra, along with countless monsters, emerged from nowhere. Is it too late? There's no end to this if they get bogged down here. Raid ordered Gallard and Ael to take Malaria and the others, and go on ahead to secure the Guardian Sword. Gallard agreed, along with Ael, whose body's moving on its own again. But before leaving, they launched an attack to clear their path. Rowana and Malaria hesitated to leave, looking back at Raid, who left the Guardian Sword to them and promised that they'll also escape once they get it. The two finally ran away to find the Guardian Sword with Gallard and Ael. Once they were left alone, Raid glanced at Milphie. He was hoping that she could go too, but that's impossible. She's not moving until she has them completely under control. Goras snickered, claiming that Raid's sealing technique is no ordinary art, though it's a shame that he's too strong to be bound by it. Luna was shocked to see him breaking the chains. That was impossible. He's resisting anti-dragon magic with nothing but brute force. But before he could break it completely, Milphie shot droplets of water towards Goras, determined not to let him get away. Goras remained smirking despite collapsing to the floor. That little water spirit ain't bad, huh? Meanwhile, Raid took out more chains to bind Goras, who was surprised that he could summon more. And what's more, these chains are the same as that guy's. Syl's suspicion was right, but wasn't Vasil supposed to have wiped out that clan? So, why were they fighting one? Raid turned confused and questioned what they were talking about. But before they could answer him, the Hydra rushed towards him. Guess they can talk later. Raid used his sealing art and bound the Hydra with chains, while Luna used dragon breath to finish it off. And with that, the Hydra was defeated. However, there's still a lot of monsters, so Luna suggested focusing on them for now. Raid agreed, and used his sealing arts to capture the monsters, while Milphie finishes them off. They fought side by side until they finally dealt with all of the monsters. Luna noticed that Raid could also use martial arts. Well, she did notice that his movements were incredible during the battle the other day as well. That's because he had plenty of chances to watch the Dragon Knights train back in the Empire. Plus, his parents taught him a long time ago. Suddenly, a man covered in cloak appeared before Goras and Syl, freeing them from the chains. Raid stepped back, unable to believe that his ultimate sealing art was shattered. How in the world was that possible? Goras grumbled, startled, questioning what took the cloaked man so long. He was really sweating there, you know? He thought they were done for. That man, Fantorlus, informed them that the mana seal release was complete. Then, he turned towards Raid, confirming that he's a sealing art user, and concluding that his threat was at the maximum level. Fantorlus suddenly vanished into thin air and reappeared in front of Raid, swinging his sword. Fortunately, Raid was able to dodge at the last second. That was close. Fantorlus raised his sword again, ready to attack. Raid got distracted after recognizing that stance, and Fantorlus took that chance to shoot forward, using his skill, Dark Fang piercing blade, to finish Raid off with his sword. Seeing Raid in trouble, Luna rushed forward and attacked Fantorlus' shoulder to throw him off and grab Raid, whose eyes were still focused on Fantorlus. That technique he used. Raid has never heard a technique name like that before, and while it was modified with a demonic flair, it's still somewhat familiar. Could it be that Fantorlus' sword style is the Divine Dragon Empire's style? But why can a demon use it? Fantorlus didn't respond and instead took another stance, making Raid raise his fists. He can't let his guard down because Fantorlus is a high-level close-quarters combatant, a dangerous opponent. Tension filled the air as they stared at each other, anticipating the other's attacks. However, Fantorlus suddenly dropped his sword after confirming the ability of Raid, the sealing art user, and reappeared behind Goras and Syl. He's decided that reporting to Vasil is the highest priority, which the two agreed with. Raid uses sealing arts powerful enough to bind them and commands an ancient dragon. He is clearly a descendant of the Imperial Dragon Knight. After noticing that the three were planning to flee, Luna shot out a dragon breath while Raid asked them to tell him more. However, they skillfully dodged Luna's attacks and successfully retreated. Goras turned back at them, threatening Raid that he'll be sure to end the bloodline of the Imperial Dragon Knight that Vasil failed to wipe out the next time they meet. Luna asked if they should chase them, to which Raid replied no. They should meet up with Rowana and the others instead. After meeting up with them, Raid immediately asked Ale about the things he heard from the three. Ale explained that the clan with the power to seal the Demon King are the greatest natural enemy of the demon race, so it's no surprise that Vasil wants to slaughter them all. Raid was about to say something, but she cut him off. He wants to say that he's used his skills to be the caretaker of dragons for generations, doesn't he? But it's actually the opposite. He was able to become a caretaker of dragons not because he was a caretaker, but because he was able to use sealing arts powerful enough to bind dragons. After all, skills can change due to rigorous training or a change in lifestyle. And about his clan, the family line was probably broken when Vasil hunted them, but the magical power and aura of his sealing arts look exactly like the Imperial Dragon Knights. Surely he is a descendant of the Imperial Dragon Knight, and if those 6 dependents judged it to be so after seeing his sealing arts, then there's no mistake. More importantly, the remaining 4 heavenly generals have begun to stir. The Demon King's revival is imminent. The monsters have become more active. Perhaps his meeting with Luna and the others was fated. Raid and Luna turned to each other with wide eyes. Does that mean he's fated to defeat the Demon King with Luna? Ale shrugged. Who knows? Actually, as a demon's concubine, she would prefer it if they didn't defeat the Demon King. Alright, their discussion's over for now. Have they still not broken the seal yet? Malaria panted heavily and asked them to wait a little longer as she and Rowana were struggling as well. Luna sighed. If only it wasn't a barrier that can only be destroyed by the cat spirit tribe, she would have already used her breath. Raid advised her not to do that since this entire underground space might collapse. He thought for a second before asking Rowana to give him her hand. After she did as he said without thinking, she felt power welling up inside her. Raid directly injected his magic power and advised Rowana to amplify it for about 10 seconds to break the barrier. Rowana followed his advice and punched the barrier with all her might, causing it to break. Yay! She did it! They can see what's beyond the barrier now. They entered the cave and saw a sword stabbed in the middle of a spring. Was that the Guardian Sword? Ale flew over to check and was shocked to realize that it's the holy sword that the Imperial Dragon Knight once used to fight on equal terms with the Demon King, the Holy Dragon Imperial Sword, Re-Eden. She finally understood what was going on. It seems the 6 dependents were waiting for the cat spirit tribe to return to retrieve this sword. Raid thinks so too. The water spirit clan that can seal Ale, one of the 4 heavenly generals. His clan, which has the sealing arts to seal the Demon King. And the cat spirit tribe, which has kept the weapon that cornered the Demon King as its guardian sword. It looks like Vazel is attacking the clans that pose a problem for the Demon King's revival. He's moving quite methodically. Rowana was curious why such an amazing sword was in their village. Ale remembered that shortly before the Imperial Dragon Knight disappeared, there were reports that there was a cat-eared girl in their party. Now that she thought about it, that girl might not have been a beastkin, but a member of the cat spirit tribe. Malaria, who jumped to the spring to get the guardian sword, concluded Ale's story, claiming that that's how the sword was protected in this village. Her parents told her that this sword was imbued with a powerful force to destroy evil, but she had no idea that it was something so incredible. Malaria grabbed the sword's hilt and raised it, emitting a bright light that lit up the dark cave. With this, Raid could even defeat a Hydra with one swing. What incredible magical power. They should report to the Dragon King. After hearing hearing their report, the Dragon King called an emergency meeting to prepare for the possibility of the Dragon Nation being attacked by the demon race. Luna wondered if Raid didn't have to participate in the meeting, to which he replied that he'll leave the difficult talks to the ancient dragons. With that, they reached the place the cat spirit tribe were staying at, and was greeted by the elder, who was glad that they were all safe. Then, his gaze landed on the guardian sword that Malaria was holding. He still can't believe that they actually recovered the guardian sword. Malaria responded that they were only able to accomplish it because they all worked together, and also because the elder heard her story and allowed her to come home. The elder claimed that the guardian sword is like a guardian deity for the cat spirit tribe. He, along with the other members of their tribe, bowed their heads and vowed to spend their entire lives repaying them for this kindness. Then, he turned to Malaria, commending her for doing well. The cat tribe members thanked them and cheered for Malaria. Tonight is a celebration for the retrieval of the guardian sword, so they've prepared lots of delicious meat. The cat spirit tribe members, along with the ancient dragons and Raid's gang, celebrated together. They ate delicious foods and happily went to sleep. Raid was truly glad that he moved to this country. Meanwhile, Goras, Syl, and Fantorlus reported to Vasil that the descendant of the Imperial Dragon Knight lives on. Back at the Dragon Nation, Galard proceeded to boast about Luna fighting in the homeland of the catfolk and not backing down an inch against the demons to the other ancient dragons. Then, he rallied those dragons by telling them to put their spirits into it as well. One of the dragons promised not to let those demons who laid hands on Luna get away with it, while another was angry that they even dared to pick a fight with Raid, Luna's partner. No, her future husband. This was unforgivable. Luna blushed upon hearing their words and covered her face in embarrassment. It's good that they're motivated, but what's this about Raid being her husband? Galard tilted his head in confusion. Was he wrong? They're awfully close, aren't they? Raid claimed that there was a difference in species, making Galard sigh. That doesn't matter anymore. Besides, since Luna can transform into a human now, there's no longer any physical barriers between them. But before he could finish his sentence, Malaria threw a log at him, asking him to stop as children were listening. Rowana excitedly ran towards Raid to hug him. Raid hugged her back and wondered what brought them here. It was nothing. Just a routine report since the catfolk are also guarding the Dragon Nation. Raid understood. As long as peace continues, that's all that matters. Rowana assured him that it'll be fine. Even if something happens, they'll protect him. They just smiled fondly at her, with Raid patting her head. What a cutie. Just then, a dragon called out to Luna to inform her of the report they received from their allies. According to them, they faintly sensed strong magic from a certain land, similar to the sealing arts Raid wielded. Luna asked what land it was, and the dragon answered that it was the Walren's Great Forest, the place Raid and Luna met and reunited in. However, she didn't feel any sealing magic then. In that case, it's possible that the Demon King is sealed somewhere in the forest, and some magic has leaked out. They should go check it out. They flew towards the Walren's Great Forest, leaving the Dragon Nation to the Cat Spirit Tribe's hands. Luna noticed Raid walking with such certainty, and wondered if he already had a destination. That's right, his father taught him about a place they often used for training back in the Divine Dragon Empire. Monsters never come near, so he thought it'd be good as a search base. Luna thought that was a fine idea. A safe place in enemy territory is both precious and vital, but Malaria wondered why they go to the Great Forest to train. Couldn't he have just trained openly while tending to the Sky Dragons? Raid scratched his cheek in embarrassment and explained that he always felt out of place over there, so he couldn't openly do anything besides work. Looks like he had it rough too. Raid noticed the holy sword buzzing. It seems its magic has settled down a lot compared to when it was first retrieved. Ale explained that that's because the holy sword conserves its power for times of crisis, but whether that power can be drawn out depends on Raid's skill and whether the sword accepts him. Malaria scowled. She took out the sword as a representative of the catfolk because Ale said that Raid could wield it with the power of his bloodline, so she should stop speaking as if she's testing him. Raid tried to calm them down because the monsters would find them if they made too much noise. However, it was too quiet. Milfy doesn't sense any monsters. That's true. Well, with two ancient dragons here, monsters would keep their distance. Raid never noticed until now, but could it be that the reason so many monsters have lived in this great forest since long ago is because the sealed Demon King has been influencing them? And if Ale's story is true, his clan may have used the great forest as a training ground to watch over the seal and prepare for battle in case of emergency. Raid turned to Luna after hearing her call out to him. She was surprised that the place where they first met and reunited might be where the Demon King is sealed. It's almost like fate. They ventured deeper in the forest with Raid leading the way. He informed them that it was just up ahead, confusing Malaria, because to her, it doesn't look like a destination at all. What they found in the open area is a monolith standing tall in the middle of a spring. Luna asked Raid what that was, as she could feel a strange magic from it. That's the focal point of the barrier protecting this training ground. It's designed to keep monsters out. Raid stepped in the water to approach the monolith, feeling nostalgic. He pulled out a cloth from his pocket and began wiping it. It's something their family has protected haunted for generations. When he came here with his father, they even cleaned it like this. Suddenly, the monolith shone brightly, surprising Raid. Luna approached him and asked about the unusual flickering pattern. However, Raid didn't know anything about it since he's never seen it shine like this. Just then, they heard a scream coming from behind. "It's from malaria." Raid turned to her and noticed the holy sword shining brightly. Suddenly, they heard an unfamiliar voice, claiming that the time had come since Raid appeared bearing Re-Eden. Raid looked around, questioning who was there. The top of the monolith shone brightly, and a black-haired man suddenly appeared out of thin air. His name is Mikazuchi. He was known as an Imperial Dragon Knight long ago, but now he exists only as a soul bound to this magic stone. Ale, who had been silent all this time, exclaimed in disbelief. She couldn't believe that Mikazuchi remained in this world with nothing but his soul. Mikazuchi recognized and greeted Ale. "She looks no different from before." "Well, duh. Of course she wouldn't change while sealed." "No. More importantly, what business does he have now? Could it be that he's come across time to disgrace her?" That made Mikazuchi laugh. "Her delusions are as bad as ever." Raid noticed Mikazuchi's outline blurring. "It seems he really is nothing but a soul." Mikazuchi worriedly stared at his hand. "It looks like he didn't have much time." Raid clenched his fist. "Even if he's just a soul, that's fine. There's something he wants to ask him." Raid introduced himself as a dragon tamer in the Divine Dragon Empire and asked Mikazuchi if he is his ancestor. Indeed, he is. Mikazuchi knows that the lineage was broken by Vasil. Raid's ancestor's spirit told him many generations ago. So now, he shall tell him everything. Therefore, he should listen well, along with the ancient dragons who are his partners. The truth is, that Demon King is a half-breed of human and demon, and a distant relative of their clan. Mikazuchi intended to have their clan erase this disgrace themselves, but sealing him at the cost of his own life was the best he could do. He merely delayed the problem, and even his soul ended up like this. Raid understands his clan's original purpose now, but he's curious as to why they became dragon tamers of the Divine Dragon Empire. Mikazuchi explained that they originally lived in an island nation in the east, but to destroy the Demon King, they had to cross the sea. At that time, one among them bonded with a dragon and borrowed its wings. That could be called the true beginning of the dragon tamers. After his death, when Vasil nearly destroyed the clan, there were those recognized by the Divine Dragon Empire for their skill as dragon handlers. Because of that, their bloodline survived, taking the form of caretakers of dragons. Through the generations, the skill that Raid now possesses was acquired as a hereditary trait. So, as Ale suspected, their clan's original ability was sealing arts, right? And those who migrated to the Empire never forgot this spring, sending their descendants here for generations to keep watch. Which means, this wasn't just a training ground. This monolith serves as a bridge to convey Mikazuchi's will to his descendants, and as the entrance to the otherworldly space where the Demon King is sealed. Moreover, only those of their clan who know the path can approach this spring. But crucial information about the Demon King was lost, and as time passed, the seal weakened. He had been at a loss, and then Raid came, carrying Re-Eden in his hands. This must be destiny, a guidance from the heavens. Raid noticed Mikazuchi's silhouette becoming hazy, and realized that sustaining his soul must be nearing its limit. Then, he has one last question. What should he do about the Demon King? Mikazuchi responded that he should use that Divine Dragon Emperor sword to destroy the Demon King. The weakening of the seal means, conversely, that there's a chance to slay him through it. This sword's power, which he exhausted fighting the Demon King, should have recovered after all these years. Well then, will he do it? Raid agreed without hesitation. After all, everyone can live in peace if he defeats the Demon King. Honestly, he'd like to go defeat him right this instant. Mikazuchi closed his eyes in relief. He's truly grateful for his decision. At that moment, a voice interjected into their conversation and cut off the monolith, causing it to fall over. Raid stepped back with wide eyes. Just now, the monolith shattered. No, was it cut down? He couldn't believe that the magic stone chosen by an Imperial Dragon Knight to house his soul was destroyed in a single strike. That person, no, demon, who cut down the monolith stood between the two, facing Mikazuchi. It's been a while since he last saw him. He's been waiting for this very moment when he would appear. That accursed power and presence. As the barrier protecting the great forest began to crack, Mikazuchi questioned how Vasil got in here. What about the ancient dragons stationed outside? He turned to check on them and realized that they were dealing with a horde of monsters as well as the 6 vassals of the sword demon. Mikazuchi clicked his tongue in frustration at how well prepared Vasil was. However, he hasn't wasted these past few hundred years either. Vasil's gaze narrowed on Mikazuchi, a bit surprised that the Demon King was sealed in a different dimension. He slowly walked closer, draining the lives of the trees with each step. How sinister. To have such dense demonic power. Raid feels bad for Ale, but Vasil's on a completely different level. Mikazuchi warned Raid to be careful because Vasil was once a human, a great warrior who created the Divine Dragon Empire style with him. Raid was in utter disbelief after learning about Vasil's true identity. That explains why his vassals could also use the Divine Dragon Empire style. Vasil turned to Raid, who had a vacant look on his face, and claimed that he didn't look like a descendant of Mikazuchi at all. Vasil raised his sword, summoning a dragon using the Divine Dragon Empire-style Dragon Knight swordsmanship, Dragon Claw swift descent. Raid stepped back and swung his foot to kick Vasil using the Divine Dragon Empire-style Dragon Knight combat arts, Dragon Wing Waltz. But before his foot could even make contact with his opponent, he flew backwards with a broken foot and hit the ground. The blade didn't even touch him. What happened? Mikazuchi had a worried expression as he explained that Raid seemed to have been cut by the overflowing demonic power. That sword in Vasil's hand was forged as the twin blade to the Holy Dragon Sovereign Sword, Re-Eden, the Holy Dragon Emperor's Sword, Re-Shangri-La. Though now corrupted by demonic power, it was born a demon-slaying holy sword. It's the counterpart to Re-Eden. That's why it's so strong. Even so, cutting someone with just demonic power is absurd. Vasil swung his sword towards Raid once more. Raid tried to cover himself but ended up being pushed back against a nearby tree and coughing up blood. Vasil leisurely walked towards Raid. As a prelude to the Demon King's glorious return, he shall offer him the last of Mikazuchi's bloodline. The bloodied Raid breathed heavily, questioning how a master warrior who co-founded the Divine Dragon Empire style like Vasil could abandon his humanity to become a demon. The reason is simple. A human's lifespan is pitifully short, but the Demon King granted his one true desire, an eternity to pursue the absolute pinnacle of his art. Luna and Gallard prepared to use Dragon Breath. She refused to let a battle-obsessed fiend like him to lay a hand on Raid. Vasil blocked their breaths without so much as a sweat using Dragon Claw Gyre. Gallard could not believe it. Is this guy for real? He just deflected their breaths. Vasil angrily dashed towards the ancient dragons, but was stopped by Raid's chains. Vasil praised him for cleverly using the same technique as Mikazuchi. What a pity though, he could easily break 100 of these. Raid's eyes widened in shock after seeing Vasil deflect even the chains that came from his blind spot. He has to think of something fast. He looked up at Ale and ordered her to burn them. Ale nervously asked Vasil not to misunderstand, and angrily complained at Raid. Did he think that just because she's tamed, he can do whatever he wants with her body? But it was too late. She'd already fired off an attack towards Vasil. Gallard wondered if they'd got him, but no. Vasil escaped that fire in a single swing of his sword. He smirked, looking up at Ale. He understands perfectly, therefore he'll cut down a traitor like her right here and now. Oh, she is effing done for. Everyone stayed rooted in their places, realizing that Vasil was a foe far greater than they ever imagined. At that moment, Malaria ran forward and threw Re-Eden in Raid's hand. Is it because he's Mikazuchi's descendant? A descendant of the Royal Dragon Knight? Right now, he feels like he can finally unleash this sword's true power, but the only Divine Dragon Empire style he can use is hand-to-hand combat. Can he really do it? Can he defeat that monster with sword skills he never even learned? Mikazuchi, who had been silently watching all this time, approached Raid, claiming that there's only one way to defeat Vasil. He will grant him a portion of his memories and experience, bonded with his power, but it will only last for a matter of minutes. The backlash will erase Mikazuchi's very existence, and his guidance ends here. However, Raid is the only one who can cut Vasil down. He must do it. For the sake of tomorrow. He must let his resolve shine clear once more. Raid sighed. For the sake of tomorrow, huh? Until now, it's all been about his ancestors' roots and the survival of his race. They were stories so grand that they hardly felt real. But yes, that's right. It's different now. The source of all this pain is standing right before his eyes. Vasil is an enemy who is here to kill them. That means there's only one thing to do. If he's here to kill them, then they will defeat him to survive. He's made up his mind. He will borrow Mikazuchi's power. Mikazuchi smiled. The clouds had lifted. Then they should go. Raid stood there, a bright light enveloping him. Mikazuchi's knowledge and experience and a vast amount of demonic power is flowing into him. With this, he can compete. Even more so with Luna by his side. Raid got on her back, unsheathing Re-Eden. Vasil had a mocking smirk plastered on his face as he watched Raid and Luna fly towards him. The second coming of a Dragon Knight. So a revival, is it? To think he'd use a trick like this to increase his strength. Mikazuchi truly exceeds all expectations. Raid patted Luna's back, telling her that they should show Vasil what they're made to do. He apologized, but he'll need her to see this through with him to the end. Luna lunged forward, following his command. The Royal Dragon Knight is coming through, Vasil scoffed. Finally, a worthy opponent. He shall accept his challenge. Vasil swung his sword and launched countless rocks at them, using the Divine Dragon Empire style. Dragon Knight swordsmanship, Scale Gleam Moonbreaker. Luna dodged all of them and opened her mouth to fire Dragon Breath. There's no way in hell she's letting Vasil lay a single finger on Raid, not even the tip of his sword. Vasil tried to dodge, but it was too late. He had been hit on the shoulder. Now they're getting on his nerves, especially that brat Raid, parrying 1,000 of his techniques. Raid shouted that Vasil underestimated them. Even 10,000 of his moves couldn't reach them now. With Mikazuchi's memories teaching Raid, he activated the sealing art, Esoterica, Yarikishin. A black hole appeared behind Vasil, with chains emerging from inside and binding him. This is the esoteric art that sealed the Demon King, and the same thing that's dragging Vasil into a separate dimension. Vasil stood his ground scoffing, as if a petty little trick like this could stop him. Seeing him trying to escape, Raid lunged forward and parried Vasil's sword. At that moment, Vasil realized something. These chains drained demonic power. What a troublesome power. Raid, who was pushed back, took another stance. Even with Vasil's power and movements restricted by the chains, he's just knocking his attacks away. What a monster. At this rate, is he going to break free? From a sealing art that's using most of his power, Raid can't activate it a second time. Mikazuchi's power will vanish. This is so frustrating. The dimension is right in front of them, but he can't push Vasil in because he's too strong. Vasil snickered. A cheap imitation of Mikazuchi is all he is. Is this the pinnacle of his sealing power? Luna and Gallard didn't know what to do. If they fire their breaths now, the entire seal could shatter. Malaria couldn't hold him, and Raid was struggling. Vasil couldn't help but laugh at these hopeless fools. They dare fight him off when they're this weak? At that moment, Milphie blasted Vasil with water, determined to erase the enemy of her clan right here. Because of her, Vasil was pushed back closer to the black hole. He panicked and told Milphie to stay out of his way, calling her a pathetic water spirit remnant. Well, this pathetic remnant is the one who has him cornered. She called out to Raid, who sheathed his sword and instead raised his fists. Vasil recognized that stance. It's the same one Mikazuchi used before. This is impossible. He devoted everything and gained power that surpasses the ancient dragons. For what? To lose? Is he still not Mikazuchi's equal? Even now? Flashback to when they were still dragon knights together. Vasil would lose every time he dueled Mikazuchi. Well, the man's in a league of his own. After all, he came all the way from the east just to take down the Demon King. Vasil, on the other hand, was supposed to be the Divine Dragon Empire's strongest knight, right? How pathetic. Despite the rivalry, the two would spend time together. Mikazuchi was grateful to Vasil for his help because it's thanks to him that his techniques for fighting the Demon King are nearly complete. Vasil frowned, claiming that this was all to surpass him. They would fight again and again and again, and every time, Vasil would lose. Until the Demon King reached out to him, asking if defeating him was his ultimate desire. And just like that, he was enticed and ran away, leaving his humanity behind. That was a vision of Vasil's past seen through Mikazuchi's memories. So that's all it was. He'd cast aside his humanity, just for the chance to defeat Mikazuchi. His pride would never have allowed him to accept defeat. Even so, how could he do this? Raid exclaimed that Vasil seemed to still not have trained enough since he's losing against him. Vasil warned him not to dare say those words. Not with the same face as Mikazuchi, Raid punched Vasil in the stomach using the Divine Dragon Empire style. Dragon Knight combat arts, piercing dragon awakening. That's for the water spirits and the cat spirit tribe he annihilated. For Mikazuchi, and for every ancestor who came before him. He should atone for his sins in the next life. That pushed Vasil further in the black hole until he was completely engulfed inside. Finally, they've sealed him. Yarikishin, the ultimate sealing art, is a technique that seals away its target, dimension, and all. Without Mikazuchi's memories, Raid would have gone his whole life without ever knowing it existed. Seriously, his ancestor was something else. Right, time's up. The power is gone, but Mikazuchi's memories are still inside him. Raid looked up in the sky, promising Mikazuchi that he'll be sure to carry on their clan's legacy. He can finally rest in peace now that he's sealed Vasil. And for a moment, it seemed like he could hear Mikazuchi praising him with a smile. After that chaotic fight, the monolith was restored, and above it was a black hole, the entrance to the other dimension. Raid and Luna will go on from here, while everyone else will wait for them. Ale, on the other hand, got on her knees to ask the Demon King for forgiveness, as she was unable to stop that whelp Raid. Just then, Raid felt a demonic power on par with an ancient dragon coming from the forest. It's the 6 vassals of the Sword Demon and their underlings. Goris couldn't believe that Vasil actually went and got himself defeated. He told them to stand by while he had his talk with Mikazuchi, but maybe they should have crashed the party after all. Oh no, Raid's exhausted. He needs to avoid fighting the ones who broke through the ancient dragon's siege. He told them that they've sealed their master Vasil, so they have no reason to fight anymore. Wrong. They've got a reason. They have a mission to revive the Demon King in place of their sealed master. Shoot. Raid poured almost all of his power into that one seal. If another opponent on that level appears, they're finished. Suddenly, Milphie stepped forward, telling him to go on ahead. Gallard, who asked him to leave this to them, and Malaria, who believes she can at least serve as a shield, stepped forward as well. Raid was touched, truly. But if they take on this many enemies, they won't get away unscathed. He debated if he should still go to seal the Demon King, knowing the sacrifice that will be made. Just as he was contemplating, the ancient dragon suddenly appeared, shouting at the demons. They apologized to Gallard for letting them by, but they killed the rest of the demons and caught up. Gallard commended them for doing well, and rallied them for one last push, angering the 6 vassals. Seeing them so determined, Raid finally made up his mind. He rode on Luna's back, apologizing to their allies but also promising to return right away. Trusting his allies, he pushed forward and entered the entrance to the other dimension. Once inside, they were greeted by a massive 4-armed monster bound by chains, the Demon King. He glanced up at them, recognizing that scent of blood. So, Raid must be of Mikazuchi's line. Has he truly come here to destroy him? Him? A being whose power is without a limit? Raid gritted his teeth. The sheer force of the Demon King's presence is overwhelming. However, his threats are meaningless as Raid is a practitioner of the sealing arts. More importantly, Mikazuchi's seal still holds him, making him powerless in this state. The Demon King questioned if he was mad. Does he even comprehend what true annihilation means? With his power, Raid could gaze into the abyss of magic, rewrite the very laws of this world, and seize eternal life for himself. In that case, he'll grant him demonhood, just as he did for Vasil. With an eternity at his command, every desire he can imagine will be his. Raid apologized, but he's not interested. After all, he's just a humble dragon keeper, so as long as he can live a quiet life in the Dragon Nation, he couldn't ask for more. Luna dashed forward, while the Demon King tried to break free from the chains. He was able to break a few pieces off, but it was too late. Re-Eden had already pierced his heart. The Demon King screamed hysterically, calling out to Vasil, until he exploded. It's finally over. They went back to the Great Forest, where everyone had been waiting for their return. Raid asked Gallard about the other demons, to which Gallard replied that he had no idea. Right before the two of them got back, the demons all just screamed and shattered into dust. Perhaps they were bound to the Demon King and vanished when the Holy Sword's power destroyed him. And yet Ale was still here. Guess she managed to survive again. As it turned out, only those who had pledged absolute, unwavering loyalty to the Demon King were destroyed along with him. Ale, who had found a certain comfort on Raid's side, was never fully committed to the Demon King's cause, and was therefore spared. They're all battered, but what matters is that they're alive. Now then, they should offer their prayers at the monolith and head back to the Dragon Nation. Raid suddenly felt chills all over his body and ordered everyone to fly up to the skies. The ancient dragons all flew up, carrying Raid and the gang, and watched as someone emerged from the spring. It's Vasil. A sealed space is completely isolated to prevent anyone from breaking it open from the outside. He sealed Vasil in another dimension, which means he ended up shielding him from the demon-quelling Aegis. Vasil gritted his teeth in anger. How dare this Mikazuchi copy do that to his king? If it weren't for him, this wouldn't happen. He'll definitely kill him. The last descendant of Mikazuchi. Vasil swung his sword, and Luna was about to fire a dragon breath when it suddenly stopped. Oh no, she's out of magic. The ancient dragons, on the other hand, dodged all of Vasil's attacks. Raid watched all of this with concern. Luna is out of magic and can't even use her breath, and the ancient dragons are sluggish. Everyone's at their limit. He told Luna that he'll hold Vasil off, so she should take everyone and get out of here. They should go to the Divine Dragon Empire and bring Faye and the Sky Dragon. Luna couldn't accept it. That's basically suicide. He's used too much power, his body and his magic. He's at his absolute limit. Raid reminded her that she is the Dragon Princess, so her duty is to ensure that her people survive. Luna wondered how he could say such things. He knows about how she feels about him. He has to know. After everything that they've been through, Raid knows. And that's why he can't stand by and watch his partner be killed. Seeing the determined expression on Raid's face, Luna finally agreed, shocking Gallard, who questioned if she had lost her mind. Of course, she didn't want to do this either, but if this is the path Raid has chosen, then it is her duty as his partner to trust him. She was about to say something more when Vasil suddenly attacked. Raid jumped off and used his sealing art to block off his attacks, telling Luna to go now. She glanced at him one last time, begging for him not to die, before flying off with everyone. Raid stood on top of his magic circle, pointing out that Vasil seemed to be quite furious. Is he angry because the Demon King fell to a mere copy of the man he could never beat? Is that it? Vasil gritted his teeth and healed his cut-off arm. Flesh. He needs more flesh. Raid shall be his sacrifice. Raid urged Vasil to come at him, but flinched in shock when Vasil suddenly swung his sword, narrowly dodging the attack. He then noticed an opening on his flank and tried to attack him there, but Vasil blocked his sword. He's a monster. He could block from that angle? Raid jumped back to distance himself from Vasil, who ran after him. This is too tough. The power he received from Mikazuchi is already gone. He kicked Vasil's side using the Divine Dragon Empire style. Dragon Knight combat arts, Dragon Wing Waltz, pushing him back. Vasil noticed the sealing chains wrapping around his ankle, siphoning his power. He ignored it and lunged forward. To think that the Demon King fell to a whelp like him, relying on such pathetic tricks. But why? He sacrificed everything for this power, so why can't he take this whelp's head? Raid will tell him why. It's because he threw away humanity's greatest weapon, Vasil scoffed. Humanity's greatest weapon, he says. This body of his, honed for centuries with Ray Shangri-La, is the ultimate weapon. Raid kicked Vasil's chest, putting a distance between them. If that's what he believes in, then Raid will show him what a human's true strength is, the heart. He understands it now. It's the will to fight for others, and the bonds that give him strength in return. That connection is what saved him, time and time again. But Vasil threw all of that away. To perfect his own power, he betrayed his comrades, his home, everything. In exchange for becoming a demon, he lost the one thing that made him truly strong, his heart. All he has left is an empty obsession. He's hunted by the ghost of a man he could never surpass. That is his pathetic reality. Vasil paused. So he's saying that his life's ambition was just an obsession? If so, then he should prove it. and show him this greatest weapon of his. Vasil dashed forward and swung his sword. Raid parried the blow, but the shockwave alone was enough to injure him. Vasil mocked him, questioning what was wrong. If he really possesses this so-called ultimate weapon, then why can't he annihilate him? Through gritted teeth, Raid claimed that he will, until he shatters any will Vasil has to ever rise again. He activated demon-quelling Aegis, making Vasil scoff. He still dared to use that power in his current state? He'll admit he has the makings of a royal dragon knight, but his body will shatter long before he does. He can call it reckless or whatever he wants, but before Raid's body breaks, he'll destroy him with the one thing he threw away, his heart. Raid cancelled his sealing art that let them walk afloat, causing them to fall. Vasil cursed at him. Does he intend to kill them both in this fall? That's right. Why else would Raid unleash Re-Eden's power? Then he suddenly grabbed Vasil and stabbed him in the chest, causing him to burn. Vasil screamed in pain. So this was his plan all along, drawing him up into the sky, just for this. Of course, he's still one of the 4 heavenly generals even if weakened. Did he really think Raid would come at him without a plan? Vasil laughed. What a brilliant boy he is, but no human can survive a fall from this height. Raid stared him in the eyes, asking if he had already forgotten that humanity's greatest weapon is the heart. It's the bond that lets them protect each other, no matter the species. Vasil was flung off by Luna's tail as she grabbed the falling Raid, who was grateful that she came for him. Of course she would. They're partners. In fact, she'll never let him go again. The descending Vasil watched them in disbelief. This was impossible. She's just a dragon with no power left, so what can she even do? Raid smirked. Who said it was just Luna? The sky dragons had arrived. They surrounded Vasil and prepared to use their breath. This is for the royal dragon knight, for their friend and their pride. They shall show him their true might. Vasil screamed after getting hit by their combined breath attacks. Was he being defeated? By the sky dragons of the Divine Dragon Empire? That's right. The very empire he abandoned for his selfish ambition has been protected all this time by Fae and these sky dragons. Vazel, the knight who betrayed his master and his own dragon, the great traitor to the Divine Dragon Empire. He must now perish in the fire of a dragon's fury. Vasil's body began to disintegrate as he stared at Raid and the dragons, remembering a distant memory. That's right, he had that too. He once had friends he trusted and a dragon who was his partner. The last bit of humanity he left behind back then, Mikazuchi. The sky dragons cheered after Vasil turned to dust. Meanwhile, Luna looked back at Raid, noticing how battered he ended up like. Raid apologized about that, but he was grateful. Luna let out a sigh. She still had so much more to say, but for now, they shall surrender themselves to this heat. Luna turned to the sky dragons and announced that this battle, without a doubt, will go down as the great achievement of her partner, Raid. They shall all proclaim the name of a new legend here and now. Raid, the dragon tamer. Raid, the imperial dragon knight. To dragonkin like them, there is the blessing of the newly risen imperial dragon knight upon heaven and earth. They all let out a roar in unison. That's the blessing they spoke of. About 10 days after that, with the demon king's fall, the monster's movements calmed, and the divine dragon empire and the surrounding nations gradually regained peace. Luna and the others' external wounds mostly healed. Same goes for Raid. He tried to get up despite the pain, so Rowana rushed to his side and reminded him that he can't push himself yet. He was bedridden until 3 days ago, you know. Raid thanked her for worrying about him. But isn't it boring just staying here? She can go play outside if she wants. Rowana assured him that she's fine. Luna will come to take over soon anyway. Besides, she was reading stories about the gods, so it wasn't boring at all. Mythology, huh? There are also tales of things and races created by the gods in the Divine Dragon Empire, Lazaria. The catfolk have similar stories too, but the myths passed down in the Dragon's Land are different. Rowana opened the book she had been reading and began telling the story from the age when only the gods existed. The place was a wasteland, covered in fire and the dead bodies of the innocent. A dragon cursed at the figure before him, questioning how far she's going. No matter how much destruction she wreaks, that desire of hers, supreme demon Norales, will never be fulfilled. Norales laughed, claiming that it will be. Everything up to this point has just been groundwork. If he comes out, then the one who adores him will be forced to appear too. Isn't that right? His old friend, god and forefather of the dragons, divine dragon Edel Grilas. Edel's suspicion was right. That was Norellis' aim after all. Norellis walked towards him, questioning why he opposed her and sided with that woman. The weak become sustenance for the strong. Wasn't that the law of this world they decided on? More than anything, why did they all betray her? Edel's head dropped down. This is hard. Norellis is his old friend after all. However, that's not important right now. The reason they betrayed her is because they realized with shame that their doings were like those of evil, acts lacking love. The other gods felt the same. Norellis smirked smirked. How truly foolish, to entrust the fate of the divine race to an uncertain future, and yet, it is love that makes it possible. At that moment, a light appeared in between them, forming a figure. Norla's smirked and lunged forward to attack. She'd been waiting for this very moment. Edel prepared to use his dragon breath. Like hell he'd let her. And so, even if they perish, he will still stand with the children. Raid, who had been listening the whole time, thought it was the tale of the ancient progenitor of dragons. It's certainly a story he's never heard before, and with such detailed description, it's almost like it really happened. Then, he asked what happened next, but that was already the end. As if on cue, Luna arrived, asking if Raid had been obedient. After being told that Malaria was baking silvervine bread, Rowana immediately dipped to go there, waving goodbye to Raid. Luna approached Raid, asking how his injury was. Thanks to her and the others nursing him, it's much better. It's just the insides, like his organs, that still need to heal. Luna didn't think there'd be such magical backlash. The Holy Dragon Emperor sword is strictly off limits for now. Actually, Raid might not use it ever again since there are no more enemies. Luna hoped for that as well. However, she brought it, just in case. Raid was surprised to see Re-Eden since he thought it was returned to the catfolk together with Rishungrila. So why was it here? Luna explained that it's from the catfolk chief and Malaria. Since it originally belonged to Imperial Dragon Knight Mikazuchi, then his descendant and the new Imperial Dragon Knight, Raid, should have it. That said, she'll keep it for a while since he tends to overdo things right away. She must still be angry about what happened back then. In that case, Raid agreed without hesitation, but she has to give it back to him once his body's healed. After a while, Raid yawned, apologizing to Luna as he wanted to take another nap. In that case, he can use her lap as a pillow. Raid blushed, hesitating. Her leg's going numb, isn't it? She doesn't have to force herself. Luna assured him that it's fine because she wants to do it for him. Besides, partners are always together. Isn't that right? Raid agreed, mesmerized by Luna's beautiful smile. Back then, he still didn't know of the days of mortal struggle that awaited him, of the fateful encounter that would change destiny. Is he dreaming right now? It feels like someone is calling him. Who is it? The sun shone brightly, signaling a new day. Yup, it's another good morning today. Luna knocked on Raid's door, greeting him good morning and informing him that breakfast is ready. Raid agreed to be there after getting ready. 1 year after the battle with the Demon Clan, things were slowly changing in the Dragon Nation. Rowana, who was carrying a tray of bread, greeted Raid. She and Milphie served Raid and Luna their food. Raid thanked the two of them and promised to help with the cleanup later. Well then, they should eat. Rowana, on the other hand, gave out a bowl of food to a mother holding her child. The mother apologized for having her make food for everyone, but Rowana assured her that it's fine. After all, she's the big sister for the cat spirit tribe now. She's so full of motivation. With the monster movements having calmed down, many of the cat spirit tribe have returned to their homeland to rebuild it. To avoid risks, families with infants and pregnant mothers remained in the Dragon Nation. Those with free time, like Rowana, are making the meals. It's strange to think that Raid was also born and treasured by his parents like this. Just then, Ale entered the kitchen, asking Milphie for some breakfast. Milphie doesn't mind, but Ale will have to help her clean up later. Ale agreed without much protest. It's almost every morning, so she's used to it now. Milphie used to despise Ale so much she would attack her just from seeing her. The fact that they can have a normal conversation now shows that Milphie's anger might have finally subsided. Ale complained about the breakfast being too small, and Milphie claimed that it was just her imagination. No, it definitely isn't Ale's imagination. Raid takes back his words. Milphie's anger definitely has not subsided yet. After their meal, Raid stood up, feeling a little unusual. Normally they would be taking care of the ancient dragons or gathering materials, but today seemed different. That's right, they're going to the center of the Dragon Nation today. It's the day of a very important ceremony. Raid, Luna, Milphie, and Rowana arrived, joining the others that had already gathered. Since everyone seems to be here, Albarn announced that they will now perform the Dragon Vein ceremony. They shall offer their prayers to their ancestors, the divine dragon Edel Grilas. Raid felt overwhelmed after seeing all the dragons close their eyes and bow. He, along with Milphie and Rowana, followed suit, wondering whether the name of the legendary divine dragon that all ancient dragons bow down to and revere is Edel Grilas, the same being that fought the Demon King with his ancestor Mikazuchi and gave the divine dragon's sword, Re-Eden, the demonic annihilation blessing. After the prayer, a few dragons carried out a big horn. It's the divine dragon's horn. If it's that big, then its body must be far larger than the ancient dragons. It's a piece that broke off during the battle with the Demon King. Luna was told that the Dragon Vein ceremony is performed using that horn once every few centuries. This is her first time seeing it too. Raid wondered how they'll use it as he watched Albarn use magic to activate the horn, causing it to let out a stream of light that reached the sky. This is the Dragon Vein ceremony. The ancient dragons constantly handle magic for their breaths and survival, so they absorb the vast amount of magic from the giant magical flow that runs through the Dragon Nation, the Dragon Veins. Because of this, once every few centuries, if the Dragon King of that generation determines that the Dragon Veins are weakened, the Dragon Vein ceremony is performed to activate the the dragon veins. Luna leaned down to inform Raid that the light has stopped, but he must not move yet because there is still more to come. Just as humans can sometimes be granted a skill from the heavens, it is said that there is a final gift from the heavens at this ceremony as well. Raid understood. It looks like everyone is still standing still to witness that. He looked up, noticing a twinkle in the sky before a bright light shot down on the ground. Galard told everyone to get back, which the ancient dragons obeyed while waiting for the gift to unwrap itself. Once it did, they were confused to see a girl sleeping. Albarn warned them not to approach that person. No, that divine being, carelessly. He watched her intently, confirming that this body indeed holds an extraordinary amount of magic. He thinks that this person is a divine, meaning a genuine god. The ancient dragons whispered amongst themselves. For a god to descend upon the dragon nation is an event not seen since the divine dragon. What does this even mean? Albarn apologized to Raid, but he'd like to ask him to take the girl to the cat spirit tribe's village as he must urgently speak with his superiors about this matter. Raid agreed and approached the girl. Just as he was about to carry her, he flinched after remembering something. Luna noticed his reaction and called out to him in confusion. Raid responded that it was nothing, and instead carried the girl to the cat spirit tribe's village, setting her down on a bed. Luna still couldn't process that a divine was sent to their kingdom as a gift. To think that a being with this much magic exists. But why would a being like her be unconscious? Legends about the divine exist all over the world, and they are worshipped as a creator god with immense power to create the world and many races. So for a divine to descend upon the dragon nation as a gift must mean something. Luna just hopes that this girl's descent is a peaceful one. Her feelings are understandable. Just when the dragon nation had regained peace, a divine suddenly fell from the sky. Besides, Raid has something he's curious about. Back then, he remembered the dream he had before. The dream where he couldn't clearly recognize the voice or face. That's right, Mikazuchi's memory. Mikazuchi granted him magic swordsmanship and knowledge about the clan when he defeated Vassal. At that time, a small part of Mikazuchi's personal memory flowed into him, just like when he saw the former appearance of Vassal. The woman in his dream and this girl are very similar. He even caught a glimpse of a face that resembled this child for an instant. Is it Mikazuchi's memory? Could there still be more? Something like a karmic link or destiny that has continued since Mikazuchi's time, similar to the Demon King and the Demon Clan. Anyway, they should ask her what happened after she wakes up. Behind them, Ale peeked from behind the door. She was slacking off from the Dragon Vein ceremony, and when she came here, she felt an unusual power. She asked Raid who that girl was because she can feel magic that rivals even the Holy Dragon Emperor's sword. She's not a relative of the Divine Dragon, is she? Whoa, that's a good guess. Anyway, Raid explained what had happened back at the ceremony. Ale couldn't believe that a genuine divine would descend in this era. By the way, she saw the Divine Dragon's horn snap off with her own eyes back then, but she didn't expect that it was being kept in the Dragon Nation. It may be safe to assume that the horn is the reason that girl descended. In the past, people used to use items with a connection to a god as a medium to summon them to this world, but the fact that a different god and not the Divine Dragon came is still inexplicable. Raid wondered if it would be too much to point out that there was an era when they could just summon gods to this world. Anyway, Ale understands the situation. Then she shall leave this village for a while before that girl wakes up. Luna smiled menacingly at her. She's saying that, but she's not going to leave the Dragon Nation and do whatever she wants, right? Ale complained about her being too suspicious, and explained that she just wants to get away from that divine. But before she could finish her sentence, the divine they were talking about, that girl, woke up, making Ale tremble in fear at the corner. The girl turned to Luna, asking where she was, so Luna explained that she's in the Dragon Nation, the home of the ancient dragons. The girl repeated her words before looking back up at them to ask what an ancient dragon was. And who were they? No, who was she to begin with? It seems she has amnesia. With this, Raid can't ask her anything. In any case, they should start with introductions. He introduced himself as Raid Dryson, as well as Luna and Ale. Then, he explained everything that happened. She is a great being, a god from what seems to be the divine race. Raid sighed in relief when she understood his words. At least they can communicate. Right. What should they call her? The girl thought about it, but she doesn't even know her own name. Maybe he has a good name he can recommend. She needs something to be called until her memory comes back, right? She can't think of one herself, and since he kindly explained everything to her, she'd like him to give her one. Raid smiled awkwardly. That's a big responsibility, but seeing her excited expression, he had no choice but to agree. He thought for a while before deciding on a name. However, when he was about to say it, he suddenly changed his mind and went on with the name Calmia. The girl, now Calmia, seemed to like it a lot. Luna was happy to hear that and invited her outside so she could introduce her to everyone. Raid, on the other hand, remained seated while Ale stood by the door. Just as he was about to say the name he thought of, the word Calmia floated in his mind. Did this come from Mikazuchi's memory? Did he know this girl? Not just that, he also realized that this was her true name. He wondered what connections could that have with his dream, and what was the reason behind her arrival to the Dragon Nation. Above all, what does it mean that she's lost her memory? He looked looked up, thinking of Mikazuchi, and questioning him about this girl's identity. After that, Kalmia made rounds of greetings in the Dragon Nation, and thanks to the Dragon King's arrangement, she would stay until her memory returned. But there's something they discovered about her. It's that she can see the flow of mana. Normally, mana can hardly be seen unless drawn out by magic circles or spells. Though Kalmia had forgotten all her divine abilities, it seems her eyes could still precisely perceive mana and its workings. Could this also be part of the divine race's abilities? After speaking with Albarn, the Dragon King, the three came out and were greeted by Gallard. Luna asked why he was here. Oh, it was nothing. He just thought that since a guest from the divine race had come, he'd give her a tour of the Dragon Nation from the sky. Kalmia would love that. In that case, Luna suggested she rides on her back instead, because Gallard's flying is known to be rough. Kalmia stared at Luna's dragon form in awe. She looked cute in human form, but she's gallant and slender, like a proper princess, in this form. Luna was truly honored to be praised by someone of the divine race. Since she'll be carrying Luna, Gallard will fly alongside as Kalmia's escort. Luna turned to Raid and asked him to mount first and pull Kalmia up. Raid did as she said and even lent his boots to Kalmia so she wouldn't be cut by the scales. Once Luna was ready, they took off, with a few ancient dragons surrounding them as escorts. Raid was glad to see the sky so clear, and asked how it was for Kalmia. She didn't know since she had her eyes closed while holding on to him tightly. She tried to open them, but only felt more scared after seeing how high up they were. She must dislike heights. Luna told her she didn't need to push herself, and suggested descending. However, Kalmia didn't want to. She wants to get used to it since Luna brought her all the way here. Raid reminded her that she didn't have to overdo it, and Gallard claimed that it was fine. Since Kalmia says so, they'll just go along. Luna agreed. Pushing herself too far is bad, but for now, they'll proceed. Kalmia, who was holding on to Raid tightly, slowly opened her eyes, and happily told him that she can now look down properly. Seen this way, it is quite a beautiful view. Raid asked her to loosen her grip a little since she's squeezing his stomach, and her very tiny melons are pressing on his back. Her whole body's against him. Kalmia complained that she'll fall if she does that, so she won't let go of him no matter what. Luna, who had been watching them, warned her not to cling too tightly. Raid's her partner after all. Kalmia felt chills all over her body and began complaining. The ancient dragons who were flying beside them all felt sorry for Raid. He really has it tough. At the same time, Kalmia couldn't stand it anymore and fainted. In the end, their little sky trip ended with her fainting. Luna descended on the nearby forest and laid Kalmia under a tree's shade while she sat with Raid, saying that Kalmia will no longer ride with him from now on. If she must, it'll be with someone other than him. Raid was trying to explain that it's not that bad and that it was beyond his control when Luna leaned on his shoulder. She feels like they haven't had much time together lately. She's a little selfish, you know? As the Princess of Dragons, there has never been anything she couldn't have. Except for Raid. He was the only one she always wanted by her side. Until he left the Divine Dragon Empire, she could never have him. That's why, if possible, she wants him to feel her closest now that they're together like this. She knows Kalmia doesn't feel that way, but still, she can't help being selfish. Can he forgive her for that? Raid held her hand and gave her a reassuring smile. That's not selfish at all, and he'll gladly accept that. Isn't that what partners are for? Luna smiled, thanking him. When they got back, they left Kalmia to the cat spirit tribe while Raid went to the public bath. He hung a sign at the door, saying it's currently time for the men's bath. He submerged himself in the hot spring, wondering what to do tomorrow. He's finished all the work he can do, so maybe he should show Kalmia around outside the Dragon Nation. At that moment, a person behind him answered that they'd love that. It was Kalmia. Raid froze, feeling a sense of deja vu. He didn't spare her a glance, and even wondered if she lost her sense of shame along with her memories. He asked if she didn't see the sign at the entrance. Unfortunately, she didn't, since she can't read those letters. He wondered if she even knew what a hot spring was, and she does. She actually came because the catfolk told her it's a place that feels good when she warms up. Raid asked about her clothes, and she explained that she saw him take off his, so she copied him. Wow. Raid couldn't believe it. Even if she has amnesia, he didn't expect her to lack such basic common sense, though he doesn't know what's common sense for the divine race. Hearing Kalmia sneeze, Raid stood up and wrapped himself in a towel, telling her to rinse herself lightly with that bucket before getting in. Normally, hot springs are separated by genders, so he'll leave first, and she can take her time soaking. Kalmia stopped him from leaving. That wouldn't be fair to him, and besides, she's always relied on his common sense, so if he starts saying strange things again, it'll be troubling. The current situation is quite an unusual circumstance, but Raid decided to stay, thinking it's fine as long as no one or Luna finds out. Kalmia sat beside Raid, asking if she really lives in the heavens. He's sure she did. There are legends about it everywhere, and she even fell from the sky. She looked up at the sky, wondering what kind of place it was. Kalmia acts cheerful, but losing her memory must make her anxious. She then turned to Raid, asking what home was like for him. Well, his parents are gone, and a lot has happened, so he doesn't have much attachment to the country itself. But for him, the Sky Dragons are definitely family, so wherever they are is an important place to him. For him, home is where his family is. is. In that sense, the Dragon Nation is also his home because they accepted him warmly when he was cast out, and they've shared many memories together. So yes, he loves the Dragon Nation, and he thinks of it as his home too. Kalmia smiled. That's really wonderful. He loves everyone, and everyone loves him. Today, she realized that there are many kinds of like and love. She hopes that her homeland is as wonderful as the Dragon Nation too. In that case, Raid suggested she make this her home too. Whether her memory returns or not, she can get to know the Dragon Nation more, until she can think of it that way. Everyone will welcome her since they're all good people and dragons. That's truly a wonderful idea. Right, he should show her around more tomorrow, including outside the Dragon Nation. Then, she'll get to know more and love the Dragon Nation more and more. Raid agreed. She can leave it to him. Needless to say, Luna later found out about the mixed bathing and got mad. Meanwhile, in another dimension, Norales sat on top of a ruined temple with her eyes closed, and only opened them back up after finding the person she had been looking for. It seems the time has come to decide the fate of their divine tribe. She raised her hand, and black shadows emerged from the ground, forming into knights. They're a new race of her own creation, closer to the gods than any human. Her own obedient servants, who answer to no one but her, the supreme demon. Their name is Dark Angel. Then she commanded them to go to the land where the descendants of the divine dragon dwell, and retrieve the god who has taken refuge there. She shall bestow upon them a portion of her power, so if any should stand in their way, even if it is a god, they have her permission to annihilate them. Except for the target child, of course. Norellis' lips twitched into a smirk, but suddenly groaned in pain, with her hand coming up to her cheek. Even though she's been completely still this entire time. Is this her limit, after all? But that's what makes achieving her goal all the more worthwhile. Well then, they should get going. Back at the Dragon Nation, Raid and the gang were walking through the forest when Ale suddenly squealed. She turned to Kalmia and told her not to just grab her tail like that. Well, Kalmia couldn't help it. She was just curious if it was real. Ale couldn't believe her. Of course it's real. It's a demonic trait. Luna laughed at them. It seems Kalmia has taken a liking to Ale. Raid agreed. She's been like that since breakfast. Looks like Ale couldn't get out of coming along this time. Today, at Galard's suggestion, they were giving Kalmia a tour of the area near the Dragon Nation. They remembered it being a beautiful lake, but when they got there, everything's a mess. There were footprints and the water is still murky, which means whoever did this to the lake is still nearby. Noticing bubbles forming on the water, Raid told everyone to get away from the lake, and as he expected, a creature came out of the lake, causing water to splash everywhere. It's a kelpie, and its belly is unnaturally swollen. Kelpies are magical beasts that prefer pristine waters. In other words, it came here to give birth. The fallen trees and the murky water were signs of it rampaging, agitated right before it went into labor. Its rampaging caused a wave to come in their direction, so the ancient dragons had no choice but to fly up with everyone on their backs. With the young ladies present, they can't risk getting too rough, so Gallard asked Raid to use sealing art to stop it. Just as he asked, Raid used his sealing art to bind the kelpie with chains, causing it to rampage even more. What incredible power. Even while Raid's holding it with a sealing art, it can still control the water. He's heard that kelpies have caused floods countless times during territorial disputes with other monsters. It would be a disaster if the same thing happened in the Dragon Nation. There must be a way to peel it away from here. Right, the breath of an ancient dragon is immensely powerful, so if it's a direct hit, even a kelpie as huge as this one would not be able to do anything. Just as Luna was about to fire off a dragon breath, Kalmia stopped the both of them, explaining that the poor kelpie is just scared. She'll talk to her for a moment. Luna questioned how she could possibly talk to it. In the first place, it's not like a kelpie can understand their language. Still, Kalmia thinks she can talk to her, probably. She just has this feeling, so she'll be the one to persuade her. Raid convinced Luna to try trusting Kalmia with this for now. She might actually be able to communicate with monsters since she's of the divine tribe. Luna protested, insisting that it was incredibly dangerous. Even if they put Kalmia down in front of the kelpie, she'll be crushed in an instant if it tramples her. In that case, Raid will make it so they can rescue her at a moment's notice. He told Kalmia to hold still for a second as this might be a little rough. Kalmia asked what he was going to do, and Raid just whipped up some chains to tie her and dropped her hanging in front of the kelpie. Kalmia panicked, asking if there was any other way, but this is the best way Raid could think of to guarantee her safety. She doesn't need to worry, they'll pull her back up the moment it gets dangerous. Despite her nervousness, Kalmia tried to speak with the kelpie, but after the kelpie screamed at her, she panicked with tears in her eyes. Right, of course. She wouldn't be in a good mood either if she was tied up like this, would she? Kalmia apologized to the kelpie for restraining her so suddenly, but she has to calm down. They also have no intention of hurting her needlessly. It's alright. There's no one nearby who wishes to harm her, so she could just stay seated. The kelpie finally calmed down and sat on the ground, so Raid released his sealing art and asked Kalmia if it's safe now. She assured heard them it was, while patting the kelpie. The voice of this one's heart came through her. She traveled from so far away to give birth to her young, and she's saying she doesn't want to be disturbed. Raid thought it was amazing that she's able to read a monster's heart. That, and the tone of her voice from earlier suddenly changed. He wonders if this is what they call the awesome power of the divine tribe. Seeing the trembling kelpie, Kalmia asked what was wrong. There's a clear shift in the magical energy. This feeling, it's about to be born. Then, they should give them some space. After a while, the kelpie gave birth to her young, who rubbed its head against its mother's affectionately. Kalmia watched them with a smile. They're right. Even monsters that people fear have feelings. They're living creatures, just like them. She then turned to Luna. She thinks that mother and child will stay in this lake for a while. So for a little while, she hopes that she could make sure that the ancient dragons don't come near here. Luna agreed. Even though it's a monster from another land, they can make an exception this time. She will inform her father about this herself later. Raid thanked Luna. Well then, they shall head back to the Dragon Nation. While walking back, Kalmia wondered if her parents were kind to her. Raid was sure they were. But why does she ask? It's just that seeing the mother kelpie made her wonder. If her child had been taken away, Kalmia's sure she would have stormed all the way to the Dragon Nation to find it. But as for her, she was cast down from a place called the Celestial Realm. So she wondered if her parents are still desperately searching for her, even now. If the divine tribe is as all-powerful as he says, then one would think they would have found her by now. The exact circumstances of how she came to the Dragon Nation, or whether the power of the divine tribe is even capable of finding her, none of that is something they can know for sure. However, when she arrived, she was just like a falling star. If she had hit the ground at that speed, she might have died, even as one of the divine tribes. But she was unconscious, and someone else, using some kind of magic or spell, was slowing her descent so she wouldn't crash. That kind of immense power could only be wielded by someone who cares for her deeply. Kalmia was glad to hear that. 3 months later, the 3 children, Kalmia, Milfi, and Rowana, came to the forest to visit the mother and son kelpie. Milfi turned to Kalmia, who was panting heavily, and told her she needed to build up her stamina. Kalmia frowned. It's not that she's weak, they're all just on another level. 3 months have passed since she came to the Dragon Nation. She's gotten completely used to the life here, but her memories still haven't returned. It seems Raid was worried and tried to search for the information in the Divine Dragon Empire, but it's too difficult when they consider the danger of being found by the Emperor. Until a little while ago, she was anxious about not having her memories, but she no longer feels that way. In exchange for her good memories not coming back, her bad memories won't return either. She's decided to think about it positively. Kalmia asked Milfi if it makes her feel happy to see the kelpie's child growing up as a fellow water spirit. Milfi wasn't really sure since monsters destroyed her homeland, so she's not very fond of them, but she thinks it's a good thing for a child to grow, regardless of their race. That's all. Rowana agreed. And besides, that baby is adorable. They spent almost the whole day there and decided to return once it got a little dark. Rowana suggested racing on the way home, when the mother kelpie suddenly roared and jumped in the lake with her child. They all felt chills after feeling a dark energy. Rowana has a bad feeling about this, and turns to Milfi, who claims to be fine. She made an arrow using magic and pulled back the string, ready to shoot. She'll take down whatever it is that shows up. Black rain began to drop from the clouds. Kalmia watched in horror as those black things began to transform into something else. Dark angels, including Ale. She heard that the demons that Raid confronted in the past were all monsters with magical power on par with an ancient dragon. There's no way that beings like that are just wandering around all over the place, and yet these things, the magical power of each and every one of them is on par with an ancient dragon, or even greater. Kalmia wondered if they were targeting the mother kelpie and her child. If so, their movements are strange. They show no signs of preparing to attack the lake. Rowana claimed that wasn't it. There's a foul scent wafting from those people. They're targeting them. Rowana stood before the terrified Kalmia as the dark angels came rushing towards them. Chapters end at 17. Thank you for watching, guys. I hope you loved this manga. Have a good day.